Hello, welcome and good evening ladies and gentlemen to another week of Porsche Cup Racing, and the one and only UKSimRacing Security Porsche Cup Season 10 has brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing. And tonight marks our penultimate week of racing with 12 rounds on the calendar, and we are here in Italy for rounds 10 and 11. But it is a new circuit to make its way into the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup's history, because it's the circuit of Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello that makes its debut today, also known in short as the Mugello circuit. Located in the region of Tuscany, this circuit is known best for its fast flying corners, and owned by Ferrari, it is a circuit which has proven time and time again to be a very tricky one to get absolutely right. With fast flying corners spanning together a whole collective section of its medium to high speed apexes, and on top of that a number of sweeping undulations over the course of the lap. It is a circuit where it's all about momentum based racing, and overtaking can be incredibly difficult here. As well as you may be able to get too wide into a corner, there's multiple ways to approach each and every corner, and the driver who's leading has the ability to dictate the line into the corner, making it even harder each time you go for the attack. Therefore, qualifying is going to be absolutely key here, but well, on top of that as well, consistency will just go hand in hand with mistakes easily coming forth. Should you miss your braking point, or alternatively miss the right point to go back to the throttle, and in making a mistake you may leave yourself vulnerable, not just to losing one place, but many at a time. But for all that, as we get ready to go racing, we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, and we'll welcome you to the broadcast available on 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, of course, you can be tuning in right now on YouTube, where's the UKSimRacing YouTube channel. Just go onto youtube.com and search for UKSimRacing or UKSR, and welcome to you guys and girls on YouTube. Alternatively, if you're more Twitch inclined, you can of course be tuning in via twitch.tv/UKSimRacing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. And as we get set and ready to go for rounds 10 and 11, all your racing action for tonight, indeed the entirety of the season, is brought by myself. Allow me to introduce myself as your host and commentator. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now I'll be bringing all your circuit side action today. But heading into today and tonight, of course, well, let's take a look back at our championship calendar so far and what still lies in wait. And as we can see, we are now down to the penultimate week of racing for rounds 10 and 11 here at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello on the 23rd of May. It's crazy to think that almost 2 months have passed since we started off that championship campaign, and season 10 began with round number 1, our endurance race opener at the Virginia International Raceway in the US state of Virginia. On the 4th of April, it was all about Patrik Thomsen putting back together back-to-back victories in terms of in qualifying and also in the race in the gold class, and meanwhile in the silver class it was all about Connor Craven for Olympus Esports. But whether it's the Apex Race Academy or the Olympus Esports driver who were absolutely leading the way, rounds 2 and 3 at Circuit Zolder, everybody's second favourite Belgian circuit, would see things turn upside down in both classes on the 11th of April, with frantic battling in the gold class seeing Philip Hammer pull away with the lion's share of the points, and in the silver class it was the right for David Biggerdike to strike back. In rounds 4 and 5 we continued the theme of heat and feature race rounds together, with Road America, the Wisconsin State circuit of the USA, on the 18th of April, once again seeing the silver class led by David Biggerdike, and meanwhile in the gold class it was a true on-to-form rivalry between Philip Hammer and Patrik Thomsen, with also was Daniel Sledgy getting into the mix. And in round number 6 to wrap up the first half of the season at the Sebring International Raceway, well, Connor Craven struck back on the 25th of April in the silver class, and meanwhile in the gold class it was none other than Philip Hammer who led the way. And then we went into our mid-season break week, and when we returned for what's rounds 7 and 8 on the 9th of May at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, where everyone's favourite Belgian circuit playing host, and there we got to see some absolutely spectacular battling across the classes, and we'll not just talk about our leaders in the championships, but also got to see some stellar performances from Corey Lazarus in the gold class, and also in the silver class Glenn Humberstone in qualifying with an absolutely scintillating pole lap, and also Danny Weston for DCW Racing pulling his way on through, and we're picking up some big scores. And last time out it was our endurance race special, round number 9 at the one and only Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke and the Nürburgring combined, and on the green hell loop there in Germany on the 16th of May we got to see Tim Darracott put together a surprise victory, absolutely leading the way in qualifying and leading the way in the race. But still, Patrik Thomsen P2, Philip Hammer P4 overall there, and it was shaking up the gold championship stands, no doubt. And meanwhile in the silver class it was a difficult day for David Biggerdike, and meanwhile Connor Craven coming home with victory, and what it means that going into what is these final 3 rounds we have got all to play for across our championships. After today it'll be the 30th of May that we bring the curtain down. It'll be at the one and only Dutch circuit, the Circuit Zandvoort, where we will be having our endurance race finale. 45 minutes compared to the 60 minutes at the Nürburgring last week, but still 45 minutes of race is much to be looked forward to at Circuit Zandvoort, and who is going to cream the way to becoming a champion at the heavily cambered corners of Circuit Zandvoort. Well, that we'll find out next week, but let's give you a recap of the championship standings after what is 9 rounds of racing. So in the gold class firstly, as we can see, Philip Hammer leads, but only by 3 points for Impulse Racing over Apex Racing Academy's Patrik Thomsen. Whilst Patrik could not quite find the P1 he wanted versus Tim Darracott last time out, well, that P2 finish to Hammer's P4, the gap has shortened down. It's the closest it's been for some time, and where Thomsen is able to continue to ride the way to the momentum that he's put together, they could be even on the scores going into our season finale, or Thomsen may just be able to creep ahead. And when that battle versus the 4-time defending champion, it's everything that he's got to put on the table in order to get ahead. Meanwhile, a further way 16 points behind Corey Lazarus, holding on to P3 over Blackout OPR there, and indeed right now looking to try and extend his advantage in P3 to Dan Sedgey, keeping in mind of course that whilst he's starting to fall out of the mathematical realms of being able to take the championship crown, a P3 finish is something he'll be very eager to take, but I don't think he's going to be trying to back off taking any wins before the end of this season, given the fact we know Corey and he wants to spring some surprises. Meanwhile, Dan Sedgey in P4, the Olympus Esports Titan, driving 172 points, he brings up the conclusion of the leading 4 drivers who've broken away from the rest of the field, and Sedgey right now looking to strike back for that P3 championship right. Tim Darracott's moved to P5 after that win at the Nürburgring on 118 points, 2 clear of David van der Waals in the hunt for P5, only 2 points between that, a further point to Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing, who'll be back on the grid today, and then we do see what is Edmund Koopmans for Effect Simulations, who right now only 8 points behind in the 4-way fight for the 5th place spot there, is going to be battling each and every place you look. Cole Fells, meanwhile, sits in P9 ahead of James Parker, who completes your top 10 with both drivers not on the grid last time out. And it's Bruno Bottega ahead of Matt Strand, followed by Afonso Souto and Adam Tiger, who complete your championship standings. Then come into the silver class, and here we can see the complexion is similar at the top. 3 points separate the 2 titans of the class, and David Biggerdike, the privateer, still holds on despite a dismal day in Germany. And Conor Craven, meanwhile, is on the rise and looking to try and take that championship lead going into the season finale. Now, what's interesting here, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that whilst we do have a round of racing next week, this effectively is the final round of the championship for Biggerdike and Craven, with both drivers not able to make it to the season finale at Circuit Zandvoort, and it is a droppable round this season due to the fact that it does clash with the Nürburgring 24 hours in real life race weekend and the build up to it. I do believe both drivers are travelling or planning to attend that event in person, so therefore it means for Biggerdike and Craven, this is the showdown, and Biggerdike leads going into the showdown, but will he be able to step ahead of Craven one last time, or will the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver be able to ascend once more and take that championship lead at the very end? Well, that is going to be the big story. We look forward to find out how it turns in its pages. As we on the battle for P3, Joel Dutton right now fighting for the best of the rest spot for the wrong stuff ahead of the ATEC Racing Cyan crew of Alistair Pollock, Craig Short and Sean Dobie, only what is 14 points separating the quartet, and there's a further what is 9 points to Paul Halliday in P7. The no pointers driver continues to have mixed form over the course of this second half of the season, and he'll be hoping he can try and force his way in to that P3 fight, but will he be able to do so? We've got an 18 points advantage over Glenn Humberstone, whose season has been riddled with misfortune. He's been one of the fastest drivers in qualifying in the silver class all season, and we saw that articulated at Spa-Francorchamps only a couple of weeks ago, but beyond that in the races, the luck has escaped him, as has his ATEC Racing teammate Alistair Hatcher on 113 points, and it's Danny Weston in P10 for DCW Racing, and will yet to make a huge score, albeit at Spa-Francorchamps he definitely made a resounding blow to a number of rivals, but he's not quite been able to replicate that since sitting there and completing the top 10. Iron Halliday sits P11, a further 3 points behind. It's Guy Carly out and Jason Mumford who complete the championship standings. And as we come onto the teams championships, here we can see Olympus Esports Titans, Sedgey and Valves lead the way by what is their 13 points over Impulse Racing's Philip Hammer. The solo effort from the German driver definitely taking to task what is the combined effort of Sedgey and Valves, but can the Impulse Racing driver claw them back in, or will Olympus Esports Titans be able to steer clear for a little bit longer? Meanwhile, Effect Simulations sit in a valiant P3 for Koopmans and Darracott, only a further 6 points behind, where Olympus Esports Vulcan in P4 there, and they're only a further 5 points behind, and only ahead of Apex Racing Academy based on result countback, with Thomsen there in P5, and right now very eager to try and bring down the run to P4 and potentially even sneak into that P3 position. Blackout OPR sitting P6, Lazarus being the solo effort there, and it's a sizable gap to P7's ATEC Racing, who are the best part of with 61 points behind, ahead of Satellite Racing, however, by almost what is 43 points there to do the maths precisely. And there's ATEC Racing Sign and the wrong stuff who complete your top 10. Best of SP11 is Race Lab Esports, and that's Matt Strand, who we haven't seen on the grid for a few weeks, but all's okay with him as I'm to understand it. And it's Old Dudes in Cars ahead of no pointers, with DCW Racing completing the team's championship standings. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, and the recap complete, let's take you through our circuit for today. And it, of course, is the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello, the Grand Prix layout, to which we've been playing host to our drivers, and was being seen for the fantastic circuit map provided us by iRacing.com. And thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the circuit maps that come with it. Well, this circuit, located in what is the commune of Scarpiera e San Piero in the city of Florence in the Tuscany region of Italy, it is an absolutely brooding circuit to look at, in the fact that it does look as though it's all about the sweeping corners, and you'd be exactly right. For as our drivers roar the way around here, a two-dimensional image does not justify how much elevation change is packed into the singular lap. But as they make their way down the start-finish straight, the long start-finish straight, they'll go downhill into the braking zone at San Donato for turn number 1. They're sweeping the way through the opening medium-speed right-hander. It's an uphill charge into left into right chicane at turns 2 and 3 at Luco and Poggio Secco, and as they make their way out of the right-hander, it's a short run in towards the second medium-speed chicane at Materassi and Borgo San Lorenzo at turns 4 and 5. As they make their way out there, it'll be a downhill run through Casanova at 6 and Savelli at 7, and then they'll make their way for the double right high-speed right complex of what's Arrabbiata 1 and 2 at turns 8 and 9, where it's all about nailing that second apex at Arrabbiata 2 to carry the speed uphill in towards another chicane in the form of the Scarpiera Palagio chicane at turns 10 and 11. As they make their way out the left-hander, it's then into the low-speed uphill in terms of camber right-hander at turn number 12 at Recurrentia, and as they make their way out of the right-hander, it's in the quick sweepers of Biondetti at 1 and 2, and well, that's turns 13 and 14, where it's flat out through those, and then into Piscine at turn number 15, where it's all about waiting for that apex, and if you get it right and use the run-off area to your advantage on the exit of the corner, you'll carry maximum speed onto the next blind lap, or indeed to the checker flag, and we can expect many a drag race down the start-finish straight in towards turn number 1, with overtaking possible practically every corner here, where the challenge will be the lead driver can dictate the lines through the corners, and the attacker's got to find a way to outfox them or outwit them in order to get ahead, if not make the attack on the start for this straight. But with that, let's come to our rules for today. We can't go racing without them. And as we can see, qualifying-wise, a lone qualifying format shall be used, where all our drivers take to an isolated instance of the circuit. And then we'll have 3 laps or 12 minutes, whichever expires first, plus the out lap, of course, to set their best possible time. But remember, there's no overtime in qualifying, so when the clock strikes 12, that's exactly when the qualifying stops. Now, race-wise, the races shall commence via a standing start, as is the tradition of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, with the heat race grid being set based on results of qualifying, that's a given. But meanwhile, our feature race grid shall be a partial reverse grid based on results of the heat race, albeit we invert the top 10 finisher positions. That means the 10th place finisher in the heat race, they start on pole for the purposes of our feature race, and vice versa, the winner of the heat race starts in P10 for the feature race, and those who finished 11th and downwards in the heat race, well, it means they'll be starting exactly where they finished for the purposes of the feature race. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements in either of our races today. Indeed, these are sprint races, and there is one fast repair available in each race should our drivers pick up any damage they need to repair in the pits, and well, if they do pick up 15 or more instant points, they will be receiving a drive-through penalty. That's the only other time we're likely to see our drivers come into the pit lane. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough rules and regulation, everything between. You're all here for the racing, and so are we. And as we do return to the circuit side, let's take you through your schedule for tonight. Times in not Greenwich Mean Time, getting ahead of myself there, but times in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. And as we can see, in just over a minute's time, we'll be making our way into our qualifying session at 8 o'clock, 12 minutes in duration. And after that, we will be seeing our drivers make their way to the grid for the first race of the day, the round 10 heat race here. 12 minutes, much like our qualifying session. It's short, but it's going to be sweet, and all our drivers will be battling hard there in the first race of the day before a quick breather of 2 minutes, and they'll return to the grid just after what will be 25 past 8 this evening for our 30-minute feature race. 2.5 times the duration of the heat race, but at the same time still a sprint race, but tyre conservation a key factor in that race, as well as managing that consistency. And we're a relatively cool circuit currently, with a 20 degrees centigrade ambient temperature and 21 degrees centigrade track temperature. These conditions are nice and cool, and it's going to give our drivers absolute opportunity to nail their laps here at the Mugello circuit. But as we do look to the one and only Philip Hammer, 4-time Gold Class champion, and looking to go for his 5th title with only 2 weeks of racing to go, including today, where he's going to be one of a number of drivers here absolutely eager to open up his account at Mugello, being the first time we've ever visited this circuit in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup with a pole position lap. But you can imagine the likes of Corey Lazarus would have something to say about that for Blackout OPR, and with what is the best part of 18 drivers making the journey here to Italy, at least we may have a couple more joining mid-qualifying. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the checker flag comes out in the practice session. It is time for the one and only qualifying session of today, and well, who will be on pole? Let's find out. So as our drivers make the way on to the circuit for the qualifying session, well, we have got the best part of 12 minutes and it's already ticking away as we do look to one driver down the end of the pit lane, and that is Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing, just getting himself comfortable in the car and launching his way on out there in the number 164. And of course, the official photographer for the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup and a number of UKSimRacing series and also other series as well, hosted by other organisations. Indeed, if you're in the world of sim racing photography, in terms of you're looking for some great photography of what is your racing or your league or series, Ryan Walker is your go-to man at what is, I do believe, RSW photography, and well, in fact, Ryan Walker sim racing photography, I should say. And well, as he makes his way on through turns 2 and 3, will he have a moment today which he'll want to photograph and put on his mantelpiece? We'll have to wait and see. But as he heads on down towards what is turns 4 and 5, of course, as it is the start of the qualifying session, before we come into some more specifics with regards to qualifying at Mugello, let's talk a little bit about our drivers of the day for what was the Nürburgring. Because, ladies and gentlemen, much like the preceding round prior to Nürburgring, and of course that being and none other than what was Spa-Francorchamps, where we had 2 drivers a day because of the fact that 2 drivers received the same amount of top percentage of the votes. Well, we have a similar situation at what was the Nürburgring, and we'll both carry an equal vote share in terms of being your 2 drivers of the day for the Nürburgring in round number 9, where it was the combination of firstly what was Daniel Weston, who currently I do believe is in the pit lane, his car not available at the moment, and well, in the silver class there, DCW Racing driver, and also Afonso Souto, and well, Souto as well not currently on the circuit. Indeed, I don't believe in attendance currently, so congratulations to both of them, albeit we can't show you both of them, but congratulations to DCW Racing and also Olympus Esports driver respectively for taking driver of the day from Germany. And of course, we'll tell you a little bit later on about how you can vote for your driver of the day for rounds 10 and 11 here at Mugello later on in the broadcast. But as we come to today then, and talking a little bit about qualifying at the Italian circuit. Well, the key thing about qualifying here at the Mugello circuit is you need to get into a rhythm. And this is one of those circuits where the track limits are absolutely strict. And well, as the drivers make the way on around here, they'll find they'll want to push absolutely to the limits of all the track width that's available to them, but they won't want to push too far, as otherwise they may see their laps invalidated before they are able to get a good lap of the board, as David Big Light makes his way down towards turn number 1 for his first flying lap. So that put together and finding that rhythm is key, and with only 3 laps available, of which our drivers have plenty of time to get those laps in around here, it should be pointed out. Therefore, it does mean that our drivers are under a little bit less time pressure, but they are under pressure to get themselves into that rhyme and rhythm in order to set the pole lap. And as we said earlier, qualifying around here is critical in the fact that overtaking opportunities are highly available here. However, forcing the overtake to succeed is where the difficulty comes. In the fact around here, it's quite easy to defend as the lead driver, in the fact taking the inside line to the majority of these corners and making sure to get your elbows slightly out as you approach the corner apex, where it does mean that your rivals are normally forced to go on a wider line, and in return it normally means they have to back up before they get to the next corner. So therefore, it's going to be an interesting day of 2 halves effectively, where qualifying is all going to be about that outright pace, but in the races it's then about trying to hold that track position, and if you're an attacker, really trying to find a way to get under the skin and into the mind of your rival in order to be able to make those overtakes happen. But as we do welcome to the YouTube chat there, Revo, who's cheering on Danny Weston and also Alistair Pollock, and Weston is still in the pit lane, and meanwhile we do see Alistair Pollock here for ATEC Racing Cyan, making his way out of Arabiata 1 and into 2. As he comes on through the second of the sweeping right-handers, looking absolutely shiny as always, that wonderful ATEC Racing livery as he comes in towards the right to left here, away his turns, I do believe 10 and 11, and we're right now looking for a stronger qualifying session. Qualifying's not been his strength recently, but then again, he's always talked about the fact that it's not normally qualifying that's his strength, it's normally his race pace. I think he'll be hoping for a little bit more today in qualifying if he can. But meanwhile, the man who's on at the rise in the gold class, and this is Patrik Thomsen, doing a little bit of tyre warming here, and indeed he's got some time available to him before he goes on to what will be his first formal flying lap. He is already on a formal flying lap, it should be said, in fact he's had his out lap and gone to a flying lap, but he's doing his last bit of tyre warming. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump on board here with Thomsen himself as he takes us around for a flying lap of the Grand Prix layout of the Mugello circuit. As he makes his way down the start finish straight here and straight line in the car up towards turn number 1, up into 6th gear already as he heads up to the rise, then going downhill into the braking zone here, and absolutely glamorous 164 miles an hour, hard on the brakes there, 150 meters from corner apex down to 3rd gear, taking a nice tight and early apex, using the camber road to push the car through, and over to the right now in the uphill run to turns 2 and 3. Left into right here, holding 3rd gear initially as he brings it on through to the middle of the road, and he makes the turn in there for the left hand, the right hand apex, and as he exits out now to fourth gear, charging up towards turns 4 and 5, getting ready to go onto the brakes once again, braking 75 metres corner apex, trail braking in third gear, and again from left into right, staying in the middle of the road on the exit at the left, to down the right-hander, use the run-off area there to increase the exit speed, and now downhill he goes in towards turn 6 into 7, and there has to be very careful. As you can see, the understeer started to creep in, but he caught it in time as he beats the throttle in, backs off slightly there. Again, some understeer creeping in for Thomsen as he makes his way for Arabiata 1, and in towards 2 he goes, and as he does so here, balancing the throttle all the way through, holding fourth gear to the limiter there as he exits out, will finally find fifth gear as he heads in towards turns 10 11. Braking unsighted into the apex there, 150 metres from corner apex into 10, bringing into left-hander of 11 now as he makes his way out, and as he does so, running out wide once again as naturally the corner will let him do so, and now in towards turn at number 12, braking 100 metres from corner apex, just trail brake, continue to roll the brake on, V-shape approach the apex, now bring the car back out, feeding the throttle back in as he exits down to the flat out around the turns 13 and 14 as he makes his way left into right, a straight line between the two apexes, joining the dots effectively as he now comes down to turn at number 15. We say down because it's a downhill braking zone, and the car just gradually falling away from you, as does the circuit, but keeping it nice and tight. That means you can get back on the throttle early, and as Thomsen makes his way out the final corner, it's been a smooth lap from Thomsen. What's it going to be as he heads towards the timing line? We'll see for his first flying lap here at the Mugello circuit. It is going to be, as he crosses the time line at 151 miles an hour, it is going to be a 149.84 rate. And that's not bad for a man who only purchased the circuit and the iRacing simulator platform half an hour before we went into what was the practice session. And indeed, Thomsen right now, this circuit may be relatively new to him on the simulator, but already he's finding that he's understanding it rather rapidly, it would seem. But as he does so, currently at 6 tenths clear of Carl Felvers. What about Philip Hammer? Well, Philip Hammer goes P2, a tenth and a half behind now on a 49.984. So Hammer not responding immediately, and well, they'll both have one more lap available to him. So now this is going to be at the close of the session. We're going to see the best laps come from us. Carl Felvers, meanwhile, a further what is 4.5 tenths behind. Meanwhile, in the silver class, and David Biggerdite right now, knowing all the pressure is on tonight between himself versus Craven for either of them to take the championship crown going into the season finale. And will Biggerdite making his way on between turns 10 and 11 there, and currently ahead for pole by what is 7 tenths over Craven. But I suspect Craven will be building himself up to something even more spectacular in his final flying lap of this qualifying session. Meanwhile, Matt Strand, who is back on the grid, happy to see the Racing Lab Esports driver for Norway back on the grid. Always lovely to see that livery there as he makes his way down towards what is turn number 1. Well, what's he going to be able to do today, given the fact he's not only been towards the bottom end of the gold class, given the fact he was promoted from silver to gold as a result of his championship crown in the silver class in season 9. But always learning is Strand, and you can see him gradually make those improvements over the course of the season. Right now, P11, he'll be hoping to try and get inside the top 10. But meanwhile, from him, as Patrik Thomsen makes his way towards the final corner, and well, he's currently purple in sectors 1 and 2. He'll be looking to go purple all the way through sector 3 as he gets the throttle in there, makes his way to the time line. But what's he going to be for Patrik Thomsen? His current lap to beat is a 49.8, and was he makes way to a line 8.48 it was. And what's it going to be now as he goes even faster, we suspect it's going to be a 49.664. Didn't improve in the final sector, so therefore still leaving a little bit of time on the board, but Thomsen are raising the bar, and I think Philip Hammer here is potentially not going to have enough. He's not gone in terms of improving any of his sectors so far, and I think for Hammer this might be the end of his qualifying session. Indeed, he's crawling along, and well, as a result, Hammer not improving, and it's going to be a P2 at best for Hammer as Felvers is into the pit lane. So I think these two are going to be your front row starters, Thomsen and Hammer, but it's Thomsen who struck the blow. Meanwhile, Alistair Hatcher crosses the timeline, improves to 52.723, but it's not enough to move him up from P13. And well, from him, we've got a couple more drivers yet to finish their qualifying laps, including what is Matt Strand as he makes his way on around there through turn number 14 in towards 15 he comes. And as he does so, what's Strand going to be able to do here as he goes a bit deep, the car snaps away, he tries to snatch it back, but in the end overcorrects it, and as a result it goes to gravel. And with these Porsche 992 Cup cars, as soon as they come loose they are very hard to catch, and Will Strand giving an exact demonstration of what happens there when the car swings back on you. And well, that is going to be the end of his qualifying session. A P11 start will be the best he'll be able to achieve, as meanwhile Owen Halliday in the Rexy machine for the null points heads towards the line. And for Owen Halliday, what's he going to be here? P17 at 157.358. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying is complete with Daniel West not headed out in this qualifying qualifying session. He'll be starting from the back of the grid for the purposes of first race of the day. Well, it is Patrik Thomsen who has taken pole position, the first ever UKSimRacing Porsche Cup pole here at the Mugello circuit. Falls to Thomsen in the gold class and over on a 49.664, and Philip Hammer 3 tenths behind him. We'll never know what he may have been targeting on that final flying lap, as he wasn't able to improve, and he takes P2, but we'll have the two championship contenders in the gold class lined up on the front row, and Hammer will now know that he's got to get the launch of the line if he wants to beat Thomsen in towards turn 1, and then try and hold on to the authority and that track position all the way to the end of our first race of the day. Me on the silver class, it's Bigger Dyke who's going to be starting P8, and he's been able to out-qualify Connor Craven by what is the best part of 8 tenths almost, and well, Craven started 2 places behind him, P10, with Ryan Walker, the gold class driver and Satellite Racing, starting at between them. And was Alistair Hatcher makes his way down at the start-finish straight here, looking to do another lap. Of course, this lap will not be valid as he has already completed all of his available laps, as we're to understand it. So therefore, just getting a bit more practice in. But he'll be starting P13 on the overall grid, P4 in the silver class. So good response there from Alistair Hatcher, albeit perhaps not as familiar with his circuits, perhaps some other circuits, but still he'll be happy with that qualifying lap. And knowing at the end of the day, he was only 300ths of Apollo, his teammate, and Sean Dobie, his other teammate, what was the best part there, half a tenth behind, or what is 500ths behind, so therefore quite close in the mid-pack of the silver class, and also it should be said quite close in the mid-pack of the gold class, as we can see it from Felbers. It was 2 tenths to Dan Sedgwick, who will be starting P4, Corey Lazarus a further 2 tenths behind, and then was only 2 tenths separated P5 through to P7 with David van der Waals and Emil Koopman 6th and 7th behind Corey Lazarus. So therefore each way you look right now, very tight, and David Biggerdite qualifying well to put himself inside that top 10, indeed mixing it up with the gold drivers. And I do wonder where Biggerdite might right now be thinking, okay, I've got pole over Craven, but the problem I've got to now deal with is the fact I'm going to be as fast as the gold drivers in front of me, and well, he doesn't gain anything other than track position and indeed overall position potentially for that reverse grid in our second race of the day by outpacing and outrunning the gold drivers. And with a top 10 reverse grid, well, of course that could always swing things, giving us more points available for the feature race than there are the heat race, but there's a grand total of 40 points available over the course of the evening should you pick up both wins. Well, the qualifying session is only 15 seconds away from completion, and indeed right now we are just waiting for that transition over to what will be the gridding procedure for round number 10. This Mugello circuit, of course, the span of the best part of 3.26 miles and having opened in 1974, and that being the permanent road circuit, it was opened as a road racing circuit much earlier on. We're going to see in its full splendour now as we head to the grid for our first race of the day, and this is how our drivers will line up for round number 10 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 10, brought to you on iRacing. And well, it is going to be Patrik Thomsen who takes pole position in golden overall for Apex Racing Academy by 3 tenths over Philip Hammer for Impulse Racing, as the 2 gold title contenders go toe-to-toe off the line. Cole Phillips will start P3 for Olympus Esports Vulcan, a great qualifying session there for the number 7 driver, and he was 2 tenths faster than Daniel Sedgwick for Olympus Esports Titan on that second row. Row 3 will go to the combination of Corey Lazarus for Blackout OPR and David van der Waals for Olympus Esports Titan, and there'll be Emil Koopman's P7 for Effect Simulations on the 4th row, ahead of silver pole sitter David Biggerdike, the privateer who starts P8. Ryan Walker will be starting on your 5th row of the grid for Satellite Racing, joined by Connor Craven to complete the top 10 for Olympus Esports Vulcan. And there'll be Matt Strand, P11 Best the Rest for Racing Lab Esports, ahead of Alistair Pollock for 88 Tech Racing Cyan. And then we'll have on row number 7 the pairing of Alistair Hatcher for 88 Tech Racing and his Cyan sister teammate Sean Dobie in what is the 159. There'll be Joel Duton who starts P15 for the wrong stuff on row number 8, ahead of Paul Halliday for the null pointers. And on the final full row of the grid, it'll be Owen Halliday for the null pointers and Daniel Weston for DCW Racing, not putting the time in qualifying, Neville starting from the back of the grid. But the DCW Racing driver, we know he can make very quick starts and he can make a lot of progress. I do believe that the start from the back of the grid may be a post-race penalty that was accumulated from what was the Nürburgring round a week ago, although don't quote me on that. I suspect it may be, given the fact we didn't see him go out in qualifying. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, the grid is set. All of our drivers are absolutely ready to go, minus a couple yet to take the slots in the grid, including Patrik Thomsen, your pole sitter, and Paul Halliday will be starting P16, although as soon as I say that, he makes his way into the slot. But Hammer's going to be on the right, from our perspective the left, and it's going to be Thomsen in the other slot. The lights are going on, ladies and gentlemen, for the first race of the day. It's Thomsen versus Hammer in the gold class. It's going to be Big Light versus Craven in the silver class. Championships could be defined tonight, and as the lights go out, it's away we go for the first race of the day. And Thomsen gets a good start as Hammer meanwhile gets the better launch in the second stage, but Thomsen on that inside line, he'll feel as though he's got enough here as the flag waves, and our drivers make the way down towards turn 1 into the opening right hander. It's going to be a quick scatter at the cars here as we We can see Corey Lazarus there looking up the inside, looking to make 3 wide versus what the Olympus Esports pair of Felvers and what is there, Seji. Seji goes out a little bit deep and Lazarus is able to get up the inside, but back into 2-3 they go. And as they do, Seji immediately firing back here as meanwhile they roll their way up through turn 3. Lazarus holds on behind David Biglight's held on to Pierre ahead of Ryan Walker and Conor Craven. Hasn't made early progress. Oh, goodness me. And it's already started to kick off there as it's the car of Daniel Seji that's come loose after some contact. Now, was that with Lazarus? I suspect it may have been. We'll have to try and take a look back at what exactly happened there very shortly. But it means Daniel Seji falls all the way to the back of the order, and it's not just going to be a bruise to his pride, but also to the car as well. As meanwhile, David Bigglight now pushing onwards to P6. He battles his way on past David van der Waals, who's going very slowly there after what was a bit of an off-track coming through turn 6 and 7. Tries to rejoin safely, and that's why he's taking his time to make his way back onto the circuit. As they make their way for over down to 1 and 2. We're going through the double right high-speed complex here. More progress being made a bit further up the road. As we can see Conor Craven now trying to probe and poke at Ryan Walker. I think trying to say to the Starlight Racing driver, you know you're holding me up for my championship rival here. And Walker's going to say, yes, that's all fair and square, but I want to chase after Emil Koopmans. And as they make their way onwards towards what is turn number 12, you can see it a little bit peak there from Craven. Meanwhile, behind Alistair Pollock right now under a bit of pressure from what is Paul Halliday and Joel Dutton. And in turn trying to find his way past Weston. As we can see it, Dutton looking his way around the outside in what is the tribute livery car there, I do believe, to Ayrton Senna as he makes his way on through turns 13 and 14 for the wrong start. And as they make their way on through at the left into right and now down towards turn number 15, Dutton taking a peek up the inside. They can't quite find it. It's more of a tentative look. But meanwhile, Conor Craven's off into the gravel. Where's the final corner in the open lap? And we'll with that as he rejoins. Now, was there anybody else involved in that instant? We're not 100% sure, but it means Craven falls to P17, and that could be huge in the Silver Class Championship, given that Bigglight still on to P6. After one lap of races, we do see David van der Waals battling side by side with Alistair Hatcher. There's been drama in the opening lap, no doubt about it, and van der Waals does sweep his way around the outside of the Silver Class driver. Well, after one lap of racing, it is Patrik Thomsen who leads, ahead of Hammer, followed by Felvers. Then it's Lazarus in P4, ahead of Koopmans. Then your silver leader in P6 of David Bigglight, the privateer, ahead of Walker, followed by Strand, and then van der Waals and Alistair Hatcher completing your top 10, and Hatcher P2 in the Silver Class just ahead of Daniel Weston by 1.5 seconds, who is best of the rest as they make their way through turns 4 and 5 for the second time of asking. But as they do, we need to take a look back at what happened on the opening lap, and here's firstly the instant for Daniel Seji through turns 4 and 5. And as they made their way out of what I believe there was turns 2 and 3 contact between Seji and Lazarus, and I think Lazarus had a little bit of a tank slap moment or power oversteer as he tried to get the power down the exit 3, and Seji being picked up. We tried to take a look from an alternative perspective as they made their way out. A bit of netcoat contact as well, which sent Seji to the grass, and then trying to recover it, almost did so, but the rear left tyres, he got the power down, just snatching there on the grass as he transitions onto the brake. The Olympus Esports Titan car being swung across the road, and Bell very lucky not to collect anyone along the way. And then what happened a little bit later on to David van der Waals, he made his way into turns 6 and 7. This is chasing after Lazarus under brake, and in the end went straight on, missed his braking zone and avoided a full lock up there, but had to understeer to the gravel and a slow rejoin on the escape road. And then we did have that instant for Conor Craven right at the end of the lap, and this was into what was turn number 15, looking for the move, and Ryan Walker taps the rear of Walker's car, and in the end went around the 1-2-3 driver, and well, the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver eager to make the places up early, but then that eagerness cuts it a bit short. But as we return it to your racing, we're now onto lap number 3, and as we do make our way onto the third turn of the circuit, here is the Olympus Esports Vulcan car. Felvers under pressure, and Lazarus looking for the final spot on the podium, turning into turn number 1. Felvers cuts around there, and we're leaving the door open, and that is just goading Lazarus to look for a move as they make the way towards turns 2 and 3. And to be fair, we do know that Corey, a very strong driver, not just in terms of tyre preservation, he's a bit of a tyre whisperer, but also can be very late on the brakes when he needs to do so. And well, right now, Felvers definitely tempting Lazarus to take a beat, but at the same time, I think the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver, confident in the fact he's got a lot of pace in the car, indeed, has had shown very strong pace in qualifying to qualify P3, and therefore, I think feeling confident they can keep Lazarus at bay just based on pace alone and not having to go defensive. But as they cut their way on through it, and meanwhile, this is side by side between Craven and Paul Halliday. Into turn 4 they go. Craven around the outsiders. We saw Halliday going defensive there for a brief moment, then returning to the racing line. And I think respecting the fact that Craven right now in a bit of a different race, and therefore opting not to battle, in the fact it only cost him time in the hunt after Joel Dutton, who is only 1 second up the road. But as they make their way on through turn 7 in towards 8-9 they go. Well, Craven right now definitely having to do the lion's share of the work here, as well Silver drives if he wants to keep his championship aspirations alive, I should say, or indeed he's going to arrive to an absolutely stellar result in the second race of the day in order to make it happen. but as they make the way in towards what will be turns 10 and 11, time will tell, as meanwhile Carl Fell was on the charge still, and we'll have to keep Lazarus at bay as they make the way on through 14. We look back to the rear at the number 7 car here, and Lazarus right now 2.5 tenths behind, and already you're starting to see that difficulty in overtaking. One thing we didn't perhaps talk about as much in the build up to today is the fact that around here the dirty air is massively felt for these medium and the high speed corners all the way through the lap, and that's what makes overtaking such a challenge, in the fact you've got to get through a huge wall of dirty air in a car that doesn't have too much downforce, but the main aerodynamic part is that massive rear wing on the end, and well, in that dirty air can really change the way the car feels under rotation of brake. And here comes Lazarus once again, goes all in the brakes, just not quite enough. He's thinking about it time and time again. He is the New Zealander, and as they make the way out of turn 1 up towards 2, will Phelps to be very cognizant of the fact he is being put under a bit of pressure as they make the way on through. But as they do, meanwhile going deep there in towards turn 1, that's Alistair Hatch, who almost took a trip to the gravel, didn't quite do something, just took his way to the Italian runoff area. And as they make the way on through turns 2 and 3, Italians is painted in the colours of the Italian flag, of course, as they make the way on through turns 2 and 3. Right now Hatch will know that he can't afford to keep making mistakes like that, as Weston taking the place, and he won't look to give it back any time soon. And Hatch is now going to have to try and find it, as behind them, Alistair Pollock just keeping ahead of teammate Sean Doby for now, but the 92 and the 159 driver keeping each other honest as they make the way down. They're battling for what will be P4, P5 in at the silver class. That wonderful, that cinematography view there in the camera shot, showing you the extent of the elevation descent from turn 6 in towards 7, as they now sweep the way to our cameraman at turns 8 to 9. Well, absolutely smooth flying circuit here as they roll their way up through the double right-hander. But right now Pollock just controlling this battle as they head up towards 10 and 11. As they head in towards the braking zone, well, from them we look back to where's a big like here, your silver leader at the moment as he moves into the second half of this race, and well, 4 laps almost complete, heading towards the 5th soon. And right now Ryan Walker's still behind him by 4 tenths and averaging around 4 tenths, but actually getting within 3 tenths on the exit at turn 12. Big Light knows he doesn't need to do anything spectacular right now other than hold on to where's the silver lead. But of course the bigger like every place he can hold in, give himself some breathing room to his rivals, can always be helpful. But of course keep in mind we do have that top 10 inverted grid. If he finishes P6 in this race, he will be starting in what will be P5 for our second race today, and Daniel Weston right now would be taking the reverse of grid pole, and that's the place that Connor Craven would love to charge his way back to, but he's got a long way to go. Keep in mind that Craven right now is the best part of 6 seconds off of Weston. Craven down in P14, and therefore he's got 4 places to make if he wants to take that P10. But as they head on through at the opening braking zone, and meanwhile behind Sean Doby, looking to get closer and closer here versus Pollock. He's going to look to the inside. It's going to be the battle of the 2 teammates under braking here, and Doby goes to the move, goes a little bit deep. There's contact between them as Pollock tries to cut his way back to the inside. I don't think he expected Doby to completely go understeering wide on the corner's braking zone, and therefore the Scot does get ahead. And Pollock right now, well, no, that was a bit of a close one there as he missed his turning point, does Pollock. I think he turned a bit prematurely now to swing the steering wheel back open in order to make it to the apex. And Pollock there unsettled to a degree after the move by Sean Doby, his teammate, making his way up a position into P4 in the silver class and P12 overall. And well, from them, Matt Strand meanwhile under pressure from David van der Waals, they make the way downhill, and we jump on board the front bumper of the Olympus Esports Titan driver from the Netherlands as he makes his way for Arabiata 1 and in towards 2, and as he comes on through the second on the right hand and looking to make some further progress, but right now it does look as though not quite able to do it enough as they head in towards 10-11. Saying that, taking a much tighter line there, bouncing over the sausage curves. Meanwhile, Strand going a bit deep. You see the rear of the car coming loose, and Strand right now, I don't think he's too comfortable in this lap. Indeed, the car just not being as compliant as he would like it to. Van der Waals turning nice and early there, and doing that for 2 reasons. Firstly, in the fact he wants to offset the understeering vote by the dirty of the car in front. Also, secondly, I think Phoenix has got that confidence to brake more aggressively towards the apex and use the natural rotation of the Porsche Cup 9 and 2 machine in order to be able to carry more speed up through the apex and out of it. And that's why the 32 driver here really right now trying to extract that pressure onto Strand. But the Race 7 Esports driver holding his own as they make their way on to the next lap. Onto lap number 6 will go. 2 more laps including the one they've gone on to before we see that checker flag in this first race today. And right now our battle's finding points inside that top 10 as David Bigdike up to P5. He's got Ryan Walker behind and Corey Lazarus down to P7. Or this Walker's going to look to the inside here. Bigdike's not going to fight this too hard. I suspect he will take a bit of a pacifist approach, as he has talked about in previous post-race interviews, in the fact knowing he doesn't need to battle with the gold class drivers. His focus is on the silver championship, and Lazarus sweeps around the outside as we briefly lose Bigdike for a moment. A bit of a later safety issue. Hopefully that's not something which is going to influence the rest of this race and potentially see him retire prematurely. That'd be the equivalent of an engine blow up or a mechanical failure in real life motorsport, of course, ladies and gentlemen. And number 23 driver right now into P7 and will just continue to push his way on forward. But remember as well, the fact that he falls further down this top 10, he could be starting from the front 2 rows of the grid in what will be the feature race. And well, last time he did that after the race, he did talk to us about the fact it was the one thing he didn't want to do, and he wanted to get out of the way of everybody as soon as possible. So either way, if he wins in the silver class, he can't win in terms of his overall position on the grid for what will be our final race of the day coming up in a few minutes time. But Big Light ran out now in control of this first race, and that's what will matter most to him. But meanwhile, what happened to Corey Lazarus to dropping down to P6 after his battle for P3 with Carl Felvers? Well, here's the replay to explain. And this was side-by-side battling through turn 1. So Lazarus going for the move initially. Up the hill they went, onto braking, and in the end, I think, well, either being elbowed out into the gravel, a bit netcode, alternatively just braking at not the right angle and having to towards the gravel. Can we get a better angle? That is the question. And well, we might be able to as they made the way into the braking zone, and in the end, going to be a bit of a netcode prang there from the rear of Felvers' car to the front of Lazarus' car. And that's what sends him on his trip to the gravel, but thankfully able to gradually rejoin. As we return to your pictures now, our leaders are on to the final lap, but we're looking at a Walker versus Lazarus. They make the way on down towards turn number 1, and as they do so, the Scot versus the New Zealander as they charge the way down and Walker defends the inside. It's going to be Lazarus looking all the way round, and as they head down towards the braking zone here, will Walker be able to force the defense? No, he does not, and in the end decides to back out of it. I think looking for the momentum uphill in towards turns 2 and 3, but Lazarus will take that place and he'll not let it go. Meanwhile, fighting for P13, this is Craven looking around the outside of Pollock. Pollock defends on the inside, but ATEC races Cyan, the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver, tries to carry the momentum all the way through, but Pollock proving obstinate as they make the way in towards turns 2 and 3. And right now, Craven's championship aspirations are just disappearing off into the distance. The more and more he's been held back, as this is the fight for P5 in the silver class. Of course, keep in mind that this race is worth less points to the feature, but it will mean that Bigger Light will go into the final race of this day with what will be an absolutely staggering advantage. And Craven will need Bigger Light to have a nightmare of a race in order to be able to potentially overturn it and take that championship crown before Zandvoort, given both drivers are not expected to be at round number 12 to see the season out. But meanwhile, we look to the front of the field, and it's Patrik Thomsen who still leads by 6.5 tenths over Philip Hammer. They've been like this for the majority of the race, matching the exchange in laps by a tenth or two each and every time. But as they make the way out of turn number 12, the Apex Racer Academy driver, after taking that pole position, we may be inexperienced with the circuit, but he's very quickly shown his natural experience behind the wheel of this Porsche Cup car, and Hammer right behind him there, and the 3-point advantage that Hammer has had going in to this race, where he is going to be wiped out here as they make the way out the final corner, because Hammer has thrown everything at this, but he's not been able to find a chink in the armour of Patrik Thomsen. And as the checker flag waves, it's going to be the Apex Racing Academy driver from Denmark who takes the first win of the day in round 10 of the championship, ahead of Philip Hammer, who finishes P2 for Impulse Racing. And your podium will be completed by Carl Felvers, who returns to the podium after a long hiatus from it for Olympus Esports Vulcan P3. Emil Koopmans will take a P4 for Effect Simulations, ahead of Corey Lazarus, who tops up the top 5 for Blackout OPR. Ryan Walker P6, and it will be David Bigger Like the Privateer who takes the silver class win P7. And what a great and solid drive there from the Englishman, ahead of Matchstand David van der Waals. Danny Weston will take what will be our second place spot in the silver class, P10 overall, ahead of Alistair Hatcher, best first P11, but third place in the silver class. And then Sean Dobby, Alistair Pont and Conor Craven to complete your top 14, ahead of Joel Douton at P15. And it'll be Paul Halliday P16, ahead of Owen Halliday, who gradually makes his way to the line here for the Noel Pointers behind his teammate and brother. And we'll have division P17 or P9 in the silver class. Last of our silver drivers, we then do have Daniel Sergio to make a trip to the pit lane after that contact with what was Corey Lazarus in the opening lap. Well, the Olympus Esports Titan driver makes his way to line P18 and completes our finishing orders of 18 starters, 18 finishers in race number 1 of the day. And we'll now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we get ourselves set for race number 2, what is our 30-minute feature. But as our drivers do have an opportunity to take a 2-minute comfort break, let's take you through those finishing positions for what was our first race of the day, and here they are. So after 12 minutes of racing, your provisional results, subject to any Stewards inquiries for round number 10 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 10, as hosted on iRacing, is as follows. Patrik Thomsen, your winner for Apex Racing Academy by half a second in the end over Impulse Race's Philip Hammer. It means they are level now in the championship scores, albeit perhaps by a single point in the favour of Hammer, going into our second race of the day. Carl Felvers, meanwhile, finishing P3 for Olympus Esports Vulcan in a very comfortable run in the end, after the pressure on Corey Lazarus in the early stages, but in the end, that netcode contact between Velus and what was Lazarus, seeing Lazarus drop down. Between Lazarus and Velus, Emil Koumans P4 for effect simulations, and then we come to the blackout OPR driver who recovered to P5 ahead of Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing. And then David Bigelite, your silver class winner, P7, the privateer, ahead of Matt Strand for Racing Lab Esports and Olympus Esports Titans, David van der Waals. Your top 10 was completed by Daniel Westner, second place in the silver class for DCW Racing. Alistair Hatcher, P11 for ATEC Racing, ahead of Sean Dobie. And well, coming from our silver podium of what was, of course, Bigelite, Weston and Hatcher, Sean Dobie just missed out on the silver podium, but P12 there overall in full place in class for ATEC Racing Zion, ahead of teammate Alistair Pollock in their brilliant little battle between the two teammates. And then Conor Craven, P14 was the best he could recover to after that mistake into turn 15 on the opening lap of the race. And Olympus Esports Volker driver now will need a huge result to turn things around, and we will see Joel Douton at P15 ahead of Paul Halliday and his brother Owen Halliday, the no pointers driver, being followed up by Daniel Sedgi to complete your 18 finishes from our first race. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have got one more race to come, the 30-minute feature race, which is only approximately 10 to 15 seconds away before we start to make our way to the grid as we get ready for what will be round number 11. And was the circuit fall silent here at Mugello? Indeed, it may be silent right now with very few drivers out there, but it's all for good reason, and that is because they'll all be preparing mentally now for round number 11 of the championship. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to head to the grid. So the drivers make the way onto the grid for our second race of the day. This is how they'll line up. Daniel Weston takes top 10 inverted reverse pole for DCW Racing. The silver and overall pole sitter will be followed up by none other than David van der Waals for Olympus Esports Titan. Matt Strand for Racing Lab Esports and David Bigelite line up on what is your second ride of the grid ahead of Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing and Corey Lazarus for Blackout OPR. Emil Koumans starts P7 for effect simulations ahead of Carl Felvers for Olympus Esports Vulcan, with Philip Hammer P9 there for Impulse Racing, and race number 1 or round number 10 winner Patrik Thomsen for Apex Racing Academy completing your top 10. Alistair Hatcher starts P11 for ATEC Racing ahead of Sean Dobie for ATEC Racing Zion, and then we'll see behind them on row number 7 Alistair Pollock and Conor Craven ahead of what will be Joel Douton and Paul Halliday, and there'll be Owen Halliday and Daniel Sedgi who complete your 18 starters. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as the drivers get themselves into position, Daniel Weston will find himself in an unfamiliar position, albeit he's had it once before starting on pole for the reverse grid race. But as the lights go on, can he bring home a huge result here? Well, it's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day as round 11 gets underway. And Daniel Weston, not only the strongest in starts as David van der Waals, and immediately goes on the attack around the outside. You see further down there, Corey Lazarus making his way around the outside. David Bigelite, who gives space to Ryan Walker, who looks up the inside into turn 1. They will make the way onto the brakes, and as they do, they sweep the way for the opening corner. And 1, 2, 3 wide. Daniel Sedgi being made contact there, I believe, with what was the car of Joel Douton and being sent sideways. And we've also had a bit of an incident for Alistair Pollock on the apex of turn number 2. We'll have to try and understand what's happened there shortly. In fact, I think it's Alistair Pollock who's had it go wrong, and they all make the way through. In fact, Alistair Pollock off camera there. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. Paul Halliday as well, but Sedgi did also have some side-by-side contact, and we now do see that Joel Douton battling his way up the inside in towards turns at 4 and 5 there from the blimp camera, getting his way up past Sean Dobie. And I think Dobie giving the place back potentially to Owen Halliday, who looks to battle his way around the outside in towards turn number 6 as they make the way under our blimp. It's going to be Halliday who goes deep, and here comes Sedgi, but he can't find his way through and is made to hold position. But meanwhile, looking up towards the front of the field, with David van der Waals took the lead for the opening corner, and meanwhile Daniel Weston now to P2 as Matt Strand gives chase some tenths behind. But you can see that Corey Lazarus already up to P4 and looking to make some further progress. They come on through in towards turns 10 and 11. It's going to be 2 wide on the apex between Lazarus and what is Matt Strand. Lazarus getting his way up the inside, and meanwhile we can see that mistake from Emil Koumans to the rear of the car, coming loose under rotation for 11 cold tyres, and as a result they expected too much of the car in the early stages, and the effect simulations tried catching the car before it all went haywire. And now looking around the outside of him is none other than Conor Craven, as Bigelite right now dropping down to P9 immediately, but making sure to settle in and not lose out to Conor Craven. And well, credit where it's due to Conor Craven, the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver has already made his way up to P11, a very fast start there from the 1-2-3 driver, but right now he's got to find his way ahead of David Bigelite, and then he's got to get ahead of Daniel Weston, who's all the way up into P3 at the moment, and then he's got to hope that something goes his way. Of course, the race and Lady Luck potentially takes away the points that could be coming to David Bigelite. After one lap of racing, it is David van der Waals who leads by almost 2 seconds there to Corey Lazarus P2. As we see there, Daniel Weston falling back to P3, battling side by side with Patrik Thomsen as they head onto the brakes. Well, it's Lazarus who holds position. Meanwhile, Thomsen side by side with Weston, and Thomsen here in 9. He's got to try and make those places. He wants to make it back-to-back wins in order to be leading into a season finale ahead of Hammer. Hammer's down in P8 for perspective, and well, between them, Daniel Weston's P4, your silver class leader ahead of Ryan Walker, who goes side by side through turns 2 and 3. Where was Matt Strand, and Felvis is going to capitalise on this and get ahead as well. And the Norwegian driver drops down the order like a stone there. 2 places being lost at the price of 1 overtaking manoeuvre as they head through 4-5. Meanwhile, Philip Hammer in P8, and right now we've made a couple of places, but nothing major to note. And the Impulse Racing driver does seem to be gradually building himself up to an attack later on in the race. That's Conor Craven, P9, your second place silver driver. And meanwhile, something's gone very, very wrong for David Bigadite, who's all the way to the back of the field in P18. And what we said only moments ago, and it's the commentator's curse, ladies and gentlemen, Bigadite has fallen all the way down to 18th place. He's got plenty of race to go to try and make up the places, and we'll get a replay of what happened there very shortly. We've got a few incidents to take a look back at, and we will do so. But meanwhile, as we continue to look through the live running order, we see Matt Strand here in P7 right now, under pressure from Hammer, and Hammer looking for that opportunity to go on the offensive as we ride on board, looking back from the rear of the 185. And as you can see, that the Impulse Racing machine at the number 60 looking to set its sights on its next move. And while Strand makes its way through turns 13 and 14, Hammer gets a good run here, but Strand goes defensive line in towards 15. Will he do so? Well, he's going to give Hammer the opportunity to look up the inside, but remember the apex tapers off, but Strand's going to let the door go open, and Hammer here will make the move up the inside as they make the one through. But remember, it's in a drag race down the start finish straight, and this is where Hammer will try and get into the line of cars, but he's not going to be able to. Strand is still down his outside, so Strand picks up the reverse toe, but then Hammer does manage to tuck in and take away P7 off the Strand for now. But will they battle under, breaking it in towards turn number 1? Will Strand pulls out slightly, but I think that's to bleed some speed rather than look for the move, and Strand right now opting to simply stay behind Hammer and look to close up to the rest of the gold class in front of him rather than battle with one driver. I think a wise move there from the Norwegian driver. Now he can make up more places by being smart in the early stages of the race. But as they wind their way through turns 2 and 3, Corey Lazarus still has got Patrik Thomsen right behind him here, and the 404 driver right now with David van der Waals 1.1 second away. He's closing in rather rapidly on the race leader, but he's also got Thomsen closing rapidly on himself, so therefore caught between a rock and a hard place. He'd like to make the progress, and he'd like to continue. He'd love to chase down what will be that win and take it, but he also knows when he does so, Patrik Thomsen is looking to pounce soon, if not immediately, in order to get back at him. But meanwhile, we do see a David Bigadite around the outside, from the inside of the outside there, of which Paul Halliday, after P16, is the wounded privateer, and was they make the way down in towards the right into left of turn 6 and 7. David Bigadite right now, he's got to charge as rapidly as possible, and well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's rapidly as possible make the way through those open lap incidents, starting with what happened to Alistair Pollock in the open lap. And well, keep your eyes on the 88 Racing sign car in the rear of your picture under brake, and also watch Daniel Sedgey in the 88. And well, there's some contact out, I believe, with one of the 88 Racing sign cars, and will Pollock being turned sideways as a result of trying to avoid the contact with Sedgey. What exactly happened to Daniel Sedgey, I hear you ask? Well, we take a look at a different camera angle here under braking, and that was the number 59 he came into contact with. I believe, in fact, the 159 is Sean Dobie. Let's correct ourselves there. And then Sedgey going a little bit deep, a minor contact to send him sideways. We then did have an incident with Halliday only moments later, and this was going up into turn number 2 as he battled with what was Sean Dobie through left into right apex, and as he did so, got the power down through turn number 2, and the rear of the car just saying no to him in the number 29. And well, then the big talking point, of course, what happened to David Bigadite? This was on lap number 2 as he made his way under braking into the opening corner, battling with Emil Koopmans here onto the brakes. They went Koopmans on the inside, Bigadite turned in, and as he did so, in the end, Koopmans were a mistake and clipping the rear of Bigadite's car, and the 23 being sent around, but at that point having to wait to rejoin with Owen Halliday going into the side of him after Owen Halliday making an error under his own duress, and that being Owen Halliday there getting it wrong, and Bigadite feeling the consequences, and he'll be absolutely fuming at that, knowing now he's got all the hard work to do in a car that we're feeling the pain on the front right hand side of the suspension. But as we return to your live racing pictures, we've still got the best part of 24 minutes plus the final lap to go, and well, with that in mind, more battling kicking off here, and there's been some battles off camera, but you're looking here at your top 3 as they wind their way through Arabiata 1 and 2, and Van der Waals right now under pressure from Thomsen and Lazarus. In fact, there's been an exchange of position between Thomsen and Lazarus for what is at P2, and we'll get a replay of how that move was made very shortly. But right now we'll stay with the racing. Samuel Koopmans has had to retire the car from a race after a further incident, seeing up the car not in the fit state to continue. That's very unfortunate. But here comes Thomsen looking up the inside against the Olympus Esports tyre to drive Van der Waals. And it's going to be a classic move to the inside there into turn number 12. Van der Waals here hoping he can hold the inside to outside through 13, 14 to set up the inside run into 15. But in the end, run out of space to do so. And Thomsen knowing exactly how much room he needs to get it done. And Lazarus meanwhile coming through as well. And well, the places are swapped. And it's Patrik Thomsen, Corey Lazarus now who are ascending and battling for the lead of this race. Van der Waals are on their 6 as they make their way onwards towards lap number 5. But meanwhile, Daniel Weston battling with Philip Hammer, but Hammer gets head in towards 15, and Weston right now 9. He doesn't need to do anything magical here in order to bring home what with the silver class win as he follows Hammer down the start finish straight and just waiting now for the end of this race effectively at this point and wondering if Craven's going to get close enough, I suspect, as he looks up towards what we turn number 1, takes speed to the inside, but let us more to bleed speed off early rather than battle. As meanwhile, Sean Dobie battling with Joel Duton, and it's going to be Dobie up the inside there into turn number 1. A classic move being made there by the 1810 Racing Cyan driver, and Duton not able to defend it. And I think now we'll try and chase after the 159 driver, who's definitely had his share of drama here so far in terms of some great battling, but also that opening lap instant here in what was this feature race versus none other than Daniel Sedgey, and will mean while Thomsen versus Lazarus, it's now going to erupt here in towards turn 6 and 7 as they make the way on down through the right into left, and Thomsen having to defend hard as they make the way on through. And when they're heading towards Arabiata 1 and 2, we take a look back at how previously Thomsen made his way past Corey Lazarus for P2 and what subsequently became P1 after they both passed David van der Waals. And here was the move. It was down the start, finish straightened in at the end. Lazarus trying to stay in the tow as long as possible, Van der Waals, but Thomsen deciding he had the greater overspeed and also the boldness on the brakes to get this done, and making the move there into turn number 1 and making sure that Lazarus could not come back. As we return to you live at Racing Pictures will mean while we have had some moves further down the order, and in fact I do believe Daniel Sedgey has found his way past Daniel Van der Waals. Van der Waals has had an incident quite recently that's dropped him all the way down from what was P3 down to P10, and well, as the drivers continue to push on and indeed weave and wind their way on around the Mugello circuit, well, everything right now absolutely being as close as you like in terms of what is our drivers, but in particular in the silver class as we look to Connor Craven here, and was second place in silver right now, given the fact going into today he was 3 points behind Derek Biggert. If my memory serves me correctly, it's 15 for a win for Connor Craven after taking what was P5 in what was the heat race versus Biggert. Win for the contrast of points does mean that with Biggert coming in, of course, to finish P5 in the silver class, it won't be enough for Craven if my memory serves me correctly of the pointage, and if we just fall short. So right now he does need to take on Daniel Weston, and in hope Biggert doesn't make any more places. And we see there Strand defending hard right now as they make that hill. You can understand why Strand doesn't want to let what is Craven through, because otherwise Daniel Sedgey, the gold class driver, will look to take on the Racing Habit Esports driver, and therefore it will be on the mind that right now he needs to try and keep a silver buffer between them. I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps a word on the radio will come from Sedgey to what we Craven to say, look, you need to focus on your silver championship and I need to focus on making some progress here. But again, both drivers want to make their way further up the order, and Craven right now will eagerly want to take that lead silver place off of Weston. You can just see him make his way through the camera shot, and indeed Craven can see him off in the distance. But meanwhile, an update on Biggert. Relative pace at David Biggert is matching the pace of the leading silver drivers, so therefore if he can carry his way through the order and find his way past Duton and Dobie, then it will seal the deal for what will be Biggert in terms of becoming will be your season 10 provisional silver class champion, subject to all inquiries before the end of the season. And once the drivers make their way on through ways 10 and 11 there, you can definitely see Craven's impatience starting the show, and I think more and more eager to try and make the progress needed as David van der Waals continues to struggle with the car falling down the order, recently passed by Sean Dobie and Joe Duton. I think there's some damage on the car that we haven't seen, and it's making it a nightmare to drive, and well, hold the fort for a brief moment as Joe Duton trying to find his way on past what is Sean Dobie in due order. But meanwhile from them into the final corner, that's Ryan Walker who's taking a look up the inside on Daniel Weston, and then will get the move done quite comfortably as they make the way on to the next lap. As they charge their way onto lap number 7, well, as they do, we've got a couple of battles very close together, and the main big one here being Sedgey and Craven, the two teammates from Olympus Esports. You can see Sedgey trying to give Craven a bit of a push along. Meanwhile, Walker versus Weston. It's going to be Walker defend on the inside here under braking as they go too wide in towards the apex. Weston right now trying to come back after Walker made the move for P5 in towards turn 15 at the end of the previous lap. We've also got Hammer and Felvers battling side by side, and Felvers has got around. He's pointing in the wrong direction in the middle of the road, gets out of the way immediately. Now, he was battling side by side with Hammer when this occurred. Was there contact between the two of them and the trigger that what we felt was looking the wrong way? Well, here's the replay to explain. So it was 2 wide down into turn 1. Brilliant side-by-side battling action on the brake in there between it was number 7 and the 60. Now Hammer was on the outside on exits, the inside of turn number 2, under braking they went, and as they did so, Felvers trying to squeeze the door shut. Hammer arguing at the space there, and that's what sent Felvers around. And we'll feel free to give your thoughts to that one in the Twitch and YouTube chats, ladies and gentlemen. But I get the feeling there, Hammer would argue he had the right to the space. Felvers would argue he had the right to turn in. I think Felvers perhaps not as aware of how close and how much alongside Hammer may have been, but our camera angle being not that flattering for the pair of them. And indeed, that's why our stewards, and we are just a commentator in the fact that our stewards have 101 camera angles available to them, whereby we meanwhile have some rather limited camera angles available, and that being the difference. But either way, Felvers coming off the worst of the two and dropping down to P9, and that means that right now your top 3, and indeed over in the gold class, is Thomsen, Lazarus and Hammer, and Ryan Walker could be on for his best performance of the season, with what would be a P4 overall in the gold class here for Satellite Racing, and knowing that his next rival behind is Matt Strand. And Strand is 1.5 seconds back and matching at the pace of Walker at the moment, but Walker in a comfortable place, indeed looking very happy at this Mugello circuit as the Satellite Racing driver, as they make their way out to the final corner and not quite the halfway point of this race yet, as the time continues to trickle and tickle down while they make their way on towards what will be another lap. Seji and Craven still, and you can see it, Seji once again trying to give Craven the push down the start finish straight, and I think this is to try and get Craven as close as possible in the end, but I suspect they're going to swap the places here, because the time that's being lost for Seji is going to impact both his individual drivers championship aspirations and also the championship aspirations in the team's championship for Olympus Esports Titan. So therefore they have had to make the switch, and Craven drops to P8 overall. Doesn't lose the class position, but it does mean he's now got one more drive between himself and Western. But then again, he can work with Seji to try and find a way to get closer to Western, and therefore trying to find that move. And Daniel Western will be keeping an eye on his relative, and I think you suspect now that he's got multiple Olympus Esports drivers coming on through, and therefore he'll be wanting to try and keep them at bay to make sure that Craven can't make his way through to steal away what would be a win in the class today. But meanwhile, an update on David Biggedite right now lapping in what is the high 52s. Indeed, the pace of the car not too forthcoming, but still in what is P5 in silver and P13 overall. So therefore doing enough at the moment, as we understand it, to be able to take what will be the silver championship crown with what is a round to spare, presuming both drivers don't make it to the Netherlands in a week's time. And indeed, the 23 driver here will just need to bring the car home, and the pressure is currently on Connor Craven to try and find a way to be able to get ahead of Daniel Weston and see the pendulum swing back the other way. But as the drivers that make the way on around, well, meanwhile Patrik Thomsen making his way down towards what is at turn number 15, and well, as he does so, looking very comfortable at the moment in position. And I suspect right now, just managing the pace with a 7/10 a second gap advantage over his rival, and not trying to think about anything else other than just bringing home this result. And when he does so, just to remind you, of course, ladies and gentlemen, in the feature race, it's 25 points for the win, 23 for second, and 22 for third, 20 for fourth, and then will be up for fifth, 18 points. And therefore, when you factor in as well, it's 15 for first, all the way down to 11 for fifth in the heat race. Well, therefore, that does explain why right now, coming out of this, should things finish as they currently stand, it will mean that Patrik Thomsen goes into what will be the season finale provisionally with what will be a small points advantage, and it will be an advantage, I do believe, of approximately, if things finish as they currently stand, of what will be a single point as we do the mathematics over Philip Hammer. But again, if Hammer can get into P2, then the two drivers will be absolutely level on points going into the season finale in the gold class. And meanwhile, in what is the silver class right now, David Biggedite definitely on course to bring it on home provisionally, with the idea that it is going to be, as we hold the fault there, as that's a mistake from Patrik Thomsen as he made his way into turn number 8, going very deep, and Lazarus makes his way on through. And with Thomsen, that's an uncharacteristic error, no doubt about it, and he immediately gets back on the rear of Lazarus as the wiper goes on to try and get any debris off the windshield, of the windscreen, I should say, as they make the way windshield, we should say, trying to get a combination, amalgamation of windscreen and windshield together there. And well, as my words slip loose and my lexicon fails me, one thing that did definitely fail Thomsen there was a degree of consistency going for Arietta 1, and Lazarus meanwhile picking up the pieces. And well, now that Lazarus is ahead, we have seen that Thomsen has got a pace advantage here, but Lazarus is not an easy drive to find his way past, particularly as the race goes deeper and deeper in what is the feature race. And will the Dangerman right now know that he's going to be up against the trophy? Definitely make those tyres got a long life compared to most of his rivals, but as they drag race their way down the start of the straight, you can see Lazarus trying to break the toe loose as they make their way on towards another lap, going on to what is lap number 10. And we've still got plenty more laps to turn as we complete our 17-minute racing. As they head down towards turn 1 with Thomsen here looking to the outside under braking, not closed up. Decides to back off for now, trying to get Lazarus to go a little bit deeper into the corner and trying to go for the switchback move here, but instead not coming forward as they make their way up the hill, and Thomsen still waiting behind as they go left into right. You can see how attentively these professional drivers just approach the throttle indeed the turn as he battles with some power oversteer there on exit, trying to get that power down as quickly as possible, but be too eager with the accelerator and the car can come loose before you can control it. And Thomsen right now just having to sit there and wait to pounce once again as they make their way down in towards turns 6 and 7. But as he does so, we take a look back on what exactly happened there for Patrik Thomsen, and well, that lock up once again. And this was under braking for Patrik Thomsen and taking a little bit too much of the entry curve on the left-hand side. I think in the end, and just being pulled wide as a result of what is the off-camber nature of the corner, and Thomsen with an error there. I mean, just trying to see how much of the runoff space he can use on the turn in towards Albion 1, and then find out you can't use that much. But meanwhile, as we return to live racing pictures, on board with Thomsen, and we are going to jump out the car from Thomsen and look a little bit further back. And this is Daniel Sedgey, who, having passed his teammate Conor Craven, is now chasing after Matt Strand for what will be a P5 in the gold class, but P6 overall. Conor Craven right behind, and Cole Felder's now leeching his way onto the back of this quartet of drivers. They have got Daniel Weston only a further 8 attempts ahead of them, so it is getting very close here in the battle for P5. And with Ryan Walker only a further 8 attempts on the road, really we are starting to see what is going to be a 6-car order for the hunt for what is firstly P5 and then potentially 7 cars for what is the battle for P4. So it's definitely getting very tasty here inside the top 10. A mixture of gold and silver drivers all fighting for their class positions and also the right to finish inside that top 10 and get the best possible accolades out of it. As they come out of the final corner, you can see there close runs between them, but meanwhile Thomsen looking around the outside once again versus Lazarus into turn 1, giving each other racing room as they make their way out of the corner, with Thomsen right now still there to the inside of 2, decides to back out of it. Meanwhile, we look back here to the run down towards turn 1. This is Weston battling on the inside defence versus Wade Strand. Strand looks around the outside, contact with Sedgey, and it's going to send Weston into contact with Strand, and Strand is sent around as Craven sneaks on through, and Craven takes the lead to the silver class there, and well, Weston's going to be absolutely fuming with that one. He'll feel as though he was ambushed by not just one but 2 gold drivers, and well, I think he had his eyes on what was Matt Strand battling around the outside, but in the end Sedgey going all in on the inside, deciding to wager it all, and in the end not quite coming off as clean as he would have liked, and Craven right now capitalising all the chaos to take the lead of the silver class. And well, he makes his way down in towards turns 6 and 7 and up down those points should things finish as they currently stand, with David Bigeleye off camera has found his way into P4 in the silver class, and it does mean currently all the points between what will be at 5 in favour of Craven in this race, and given the fact that going into today Craven was 3 points down and Bigeleye taking up the win. Meanwhile, Craven finishing in what was at P5, where it would have been at 4 points to Bigeleye in the first race, 5 points back to Craven in this one, so therefore 1 point advantage to Craven. But given the fact that he came into this round, this pair of rounds, 3 points behind what will be Bigeleye, therefore he'd still be behind by 2 points when all is said and done. And now it's going to be Cole Felvers here, looking up the inside into turn number 12 versus what will be Daniel Weston, and Weston right now letting that go after trying to fend it around the outside. And well, I think Weston at this point just more interested in making sure to hunt down Craven and let the gold drives on through, knowing he doesn't want to be in any more altercations with them. But as they make their way down in towards turn number 15, well, Corey Lazarus meanwhile still side by side here with Thomsen as they head down to turn 1. We saw Thomsen alongside last time, but this time he does get a nose head under braking, albeit not able to carry it all the way around the corner. Lazarus takes the position back immediately, and instead Thomsen decides to ride on the rear of his rival as they head left into right here through turns 2 and 3. And well, brilliant battle between the two, but do keep in mind, of course, all this battling will gradually bring Philip Hammer closer and closer, and well, Hammer's previous lap was 3/10 faster compared to Thomsen and Lazarus, given their battling through turns 1, 2 and 3. So therefore, if this battling continues, it's only going to bring Hammer in to make it a 3-way fight as they make the way downhill into turns 6 and 7. Well, we will take this moment to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, that you can now vote for your driver of the day for rounds 10 and 11 at the circuit Mugello, or the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello as it's known in full, and the Google form link for voting for your driver of the day is now available in your respective YouTube or Twitch chat. It's quick, free clicks on a Google form, and that's how you can cast your vote, and we will announce your driver of the day from Mugello at what will be the qualifying session of our season finale in a week's time at Circuit Zandvoort. Well, as Corey Lazarus looks to try and continue to hold on here for the win overall. Indeed, he could be putting in a driver of the day performance right now with Thomsen behind. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Matt Strand after that altercation where it all went wrong. And we're right now looking to try and recover throughout the order with a 1.3 second gap over David van der Waals, his next goal driver to chase him in the battle for P7 in the goal class. Well, Strand would want to pick off Derby and Weston before going hunting after Felvers once again. But meanwhile, we take a look back at that incident which happened on lap number 11. This was under braking in towards the open apex. Now Strand looking around the outside of Weston, but here comes Sedgey up the inside, and it's Weston. I don't think Weston sees that Sedgey's there until it's too late, and in the end on turning makes contact, and will natural domino effect there pushes Weston right, and Strand being on the outside, what would have been an absolutely lovely move from Strand without what was the involvement of Sedgey, when at the end the Racing Lab eSports driver, I think, not aware he was in a free wide until it was too late, and then at the end being collected as they all naturally started to understeer out of the corner, and with the Racing Lab eSports driver falling off the worst as a result. But to be fair to Daniel Sedgey, an absolutely brilliant attempt at a move, and we're going to get the on board here from Daniel Sedgey's perspective. You can see what he was trying to do here, and indeed going all in and almost pulling it off, but then just Weston coming towards the apex and making that contact. But the Infamous eSports Titan driver would argue that he had the right to be there. Indeed, he did have half the car overlap, so therefore he had made it on through. But the big question the sure to be asking is, did he make it before the turning point of the apex? And well, the Briton there would argue, yes, I did. But I think Weston might have something else to say about that, and they'll talk about that after the racing. But meanwhile, we look back to your live picture, and as we do now, it's Halliday versus Halliday as the two Halliday brothers battle their way in towards what is turn at number 15. Around 15th and 16th right now. Alistair Pollock retiring from this race, and also Emil Koopmans. So we are 2 cars down. These two are fighting for the last place on the running order, and well, the two brothers here, I think, having their own little rivalry in the way of not wanting, to be the last place finisher as they come down towards turn at double one, where it's Owen ahead of Paul as they head in towards that braking zone. And well, can he hold them off as he makes his way on through turn 1? It looks as though Paul Halliday is going to go all the way around the outside, but goes a bit deep in that understeer, punishing him as they make the way uphill towards turn number 2. And Owen Halliday holding on to the 7th place spot in the silver class currently. Well, I say that goes very deep into 2, and we're into 3. He's going to practically park it on apex there to make sure that brother Paul doesn't just come on through on the run. But meanwhile, heading on to lap number 14 with 6 minutes to go plus the final lap. It's Thomsen versus Lazarus still, and as they wind their way down towards the braking zone, this time Thomsen's got a significant overspeed. He's got ahead into the braking zone, but Lazarus is not going to back out. Too wide they go under braking, and Lazarus does get it stopped in time, braking later and later each and every time. And as we jump on board here with Patrik Thomsen absolutely winding and weaving his way, trying to cast some magic here to try and take that lead back after that error into turn number 8. But is he going to be able to find a way through? Not this time, as the battle rages on here, and as they make their way in towards turns 4 and 5. Well, meanwhile, Daniel Sedgey off camera has found his way past Ryan Walker. I do believe that's into turn 1 as well. We're going to replay that very shortly, but Patrik Thomsen being made to wait once more as they come down through turn 6 and 7, and with the other major overtaking opportunity being the run in towards turn number 12 and 15, but otherwise overtakes limited to a degree given that dirty out, the fact it's so difficult to dictate an attacking line here around Mugello as they roll off out to it. You can hear there the screeching of the tyres on the tarmac, that natural understeer being kicked into the car, and Thomsen right now be feeling the effects on the left hand side tyres, which should be taking a bruising on the majority of the wear around here, while the circuit being a clockwise circuit. It's more right in turns than left hand, and a lot of high load corners, but to the Arabiatas 1 and 2, which really load up that left hand side tyre, and therefore that tyre will be struggling as we head towards the end of the race. But they make the way onwards towards what will be turns 13, 14 and through towards 15. We'll stay on board here all the way in the run, down towards turn number 1 on the next lap. But we do look back to the back further down the order, and was the Danishman here tries to stay close, trying to get the better launch, and does go for that more V-shape approach to the corner exit, and that's the better exit. He gains a 10th from corner exit. You can see immediately Lazarus pulling it out of the way, weaving down the straight. He gets one move, but now he will have to settle on a position, and as they head on down, Thomsen within a 10th as he looks to ride behind, a bit of contact to the rear of which Lazarus' car, and I think Thomsen there trying to commit to that inside line just as much as Lazarus, but not timing it right, and therefore Lazarus will pull off the defence this time around. But as they make the way on through, you can see Owen Halliday there falling a lap down. Meanwhile, further behind, this is going to be what we call Felvers looking to move on Ryan Walker. Walker being passed only a lap ago in the run down towards turn number 1 by Daniel Sedgley for what was P4. Now it's the battle for P5. And Felvers looking around the outside here. Walker's not going to give in as they both head onto the anchors. And as they do so, Felvers looking for the switchback move. Can he get it? Will Walker have the inside into 2? So even if Felvers does get the better run, he can dictate the approach to the left-hand apex and does exactly that. Felvers all over the back of Walker like a bad rash right now. But the thing is, Walker able to scratch it off for now. And as they make the way in towards turns 4 and 5, Felvers putting the pressure on, but not able to find that final 5% in order to make the move a success. As they come out of what is turn number 5 and 6 and in towards, in fact into 6 and 7 they go. We're coming on downhill here, right into left, and Felvers still right there as Connor Craven watching in the wings. And well, Craven I think would love to get past these two, or at least have them stop battling and pull away, because he's been held up now, and Daniel Weston's only at what is 2 seconds behind him and looking on. And as they wind their way up the hill for return at number 9, we take a look back at how what was Daniel Sedgley able to make the move on Ryan Walker only moments ago. And this was in the time in the battle for P4, and as they made the way under braking here, Walker went a bit deep initially, so Sedgley in the end being given all the opportunity he needed to make the move and doing exactly that in towards turn number 1. And as we return to the racing action here on your live pitch with 2 minutes left on the clock, what our leaders will get this lap in at plus 1 more in terms of when they go on to the next lap, I should say. They'll get lap 16 in plus a 17th lap. Again, they've got 2 minutes on the clock, and the lap time around here is 1 minute 51 on average for your fastest drivers. So therefore, Lazarus and Thomsen continue the way down. And speaking of which, they make the way under braking in towards turn number 1, and Lazarus ahead by a nose at the moment once again. Meanwhile, it's a further 3.3 seconds to Philip Hammer in a very quiet P3. Not really gaining, not really losing out compared to these. He is gaining 3 tenths a lap, but such is the gap that they've created themselves, Lazarus and Thomsen. And then right now, Hammer just not bringing down that gap in enough time. So therefore, I think he might have to settle for P3 and see the championship stands levelled going into the season finale. But as he does so, meanwhile, Felvers versus Walker, they continue to rage their way off returns 2 and 3. We ride aboard the front bump here of the number 7 from Olympus Esports, Vulcan, and Walker right now being made to fight the race of his life to hold on to P5 there as they head in towards turns 4 and 5. Left into right they go once again, and we can see Felvers definitely more happy with regards to the approach and able to run over those sausage curves much more comfortably compared to Walker. I think he's having to steer clear of them, and Felvers looks up the inside. It's a dive, tries to poke his nose in, but in the end back it out there just at last. Man has to be careful of that. Those little nosedive nudges, well, when you can pull them off, they can really upset the momentum of the driver in front. But the flip side of the coin is, if you do make contact, it does normally mean that when you go to the stewards, it's going to be you who has the book thrown at you, as you weren't fully alongside on the approach into the apex. As Felvers right now looks to try and get under the skin of Walker, the Scotsman not being unsettled by the Brit, as they make way through right into left here at turns 10 and 11, and up towards 12 they go. And Felvers are getting the better exit once more, and as they head in towards the braking zone, Felvers goes to look around the outside. No, he does not. Instead, he looks at the switchback move, gets very close contact to the rear of Walker's car almost. He just backs off in time. Excuse me. Walker right now absolutely under huge pressure as they make the way in towards turn number 15. But as they do, well, meanwhile, the clock strikes what will be 30 minutes, and your leaders are making their way down towards where it's turn 1. And Patrik Thomsen has fallen to what is 1.2 seconds behind Lazarus. I think Lazarus has been able to open up the gap, and I think there's been an error for Thomsen. And Corey Lazarus right now, as we see Wake and Bait Racing cheering on what is the 404 driver. Well, Lazarus right now could be, of course, be taking an absolutely emphatic victory. But meanwhile, looking back to the battle for P5, this is Felvers on the outside, Walker's on the inside as they make their way towards the braking zone. Walker defending here, and Felvers looking around. Well, will he able to make the move stick? No, he can't. He looks to cut back instead as Matt Strand is into the pit lane. I believe that's for fuel for Matt Strand, and therefore Strand right now are not anticipating what was a 17th lap of this race, and in at the end he is going to miss out on what could have been a great result as he makes his way down the pit lane. We'll have to find out what's exactly happened for Strand where we can. And meanwhile, Felvers not able to make that move on what was Walker there for returns 1 through to 3, and as they exit out 4 or 5, a 10th between them. and Velvus is going to look to the inside once again, but this time he's really going to try and crank the psychic games up to 11, and as they make the way on down through 7, no way through for Velvus right now, still looking, still probing and waiting for a move, but it's not forthcoming as they find a little bit of traffic for Arabia to 1 and into 2, and Owen Halliday steering clear, but as they make the way on through up towards what will be turns 10 and 11, we're heading towards the braking zone. Meanwhile, here is your leader, and Corey Lazarus is being closed down once again by Patrik Thomsen, but with only one corner to go, Lazarus knows all he's got to do is make his apex. He doesn't need to do anything spectacular, and he does exactly that as he sweeps his way through the final corner. And well, the story of today has really been Thomsen versus Hammer, but one of the big stories in this feature race has been Corey Lazarus, who comes up through to take victory in round number 11 of the championship for Blackout OPR ahead of Patrik Thomsen, whose second place will level the championship stands in the gold class versus Philip Hammer in third, going into the season finale. And then we will see Hammer just in the rear of the picture take the third place, and then it is a 19-second gap to Daniel Sedgey, who comes on through to take fourth place for Olympus Esports Titan, and a great drive through the field there for the 88 driver. And Ryan Walker will take the fifth place spot, overwinning the gold class, his best result of the season after fending of Carl Velvus all the way to the line, who takes P6. Connor Craven, he takes the silver class win, but for the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver, he'll be waiting to see where David Biggerdike comes through, and well, it's Daniel Weston, and then it's Sean Dobie, and in fourth place in the silver class, and provisionally who to take the silver championship for season 10, with both drivers not expected to be on the grid for your season 9 in a week's time. David Biggerdike has done it. It will be enough to take the championship crown with a couple of points to spare ahead of David van der Waals, who will be taking P11 overall and P7 in the gold class. Joel Duton cross line P12 in a challenging second race a day, and it will be Alistair Hatcher who comes on through to take P13 there for 8-Tip Racing, P6 in the silver class. And well, we still do have one driver to make his way to the finish line, a lap down, but from the 8-Tip Racing driver we do come to the no pointers driver Paul Halliday in number 29, as he makes his way up towards the timing line. Well, give him a round of applause like everybody else, ladies and gentlemen. He's made his way to the end, and congratulations to him. Paul Halliday will be P16 behind brother Owen Halliday as they both finish a lap down at the line. But meanwhile, Corey Lazarus enjoying his lap of celebration there as he goes on through the lap, the cool down lap, and well, for Corey Lazarus, a great result there that definitely keeps him strongly in the hunt for that third place finish in the Gold Championship when this season comes to a close. And well, it was a small mistake from Patrik Thomsen that saw Lazarus retake the lead midway through the race, and after that he was never going to let it go. And whilst Thomsen put the pressure on, in the end the pressure fell against the Danishman, and the Kiwi managed to bring it all the way home. And what a win there for Corey Lazarus. But meanwhile, for David Biggerdike already into the pits, well, Connor Craven right now, he'll be waiting to see how it all shapes up in terms of the points. But as we understand it, ladies and gentlemen, Craven will be your runner-up as a result in the championship if both drivers do not make it to Zandvoort and therefore cannot improve upon their potential drop scores over the course of the season. Zandvoort will naturally become their drop score. What it does mean the points are not enough for Craven, and indeed he will just fall slightly short. But of course, we will confirm that when we can, and we'll confirm it going into the season finale in a week's time, because there will be provisional results subject to any stewards' inquiries. But as we understand it, based on the points, it is David Biggerdike who has taken the season 10 silver championship crown in what is rounds 10 and 11 at Mugello here in Italy, and Connor Craven has just missed out by what is 2 points at the close. But as all drivers make the way into the pit lane, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And well, as we can see, after a brilliant 30-minute race, which was all about consistency versus pace, Corey Lazarus taking the overall and gold class win for Blackout OPR by 7 tenths in the end over Apex Race Academy's Patrik Thomsen. With the win in race number 1 and his second place in race number 2 of the day, Patrik Thomsen is now a point ahead of Philip Hammer going into the season finale, with the Impulse Racing driver taking P3 there, and well, 2.3 seconds between the two, and Hammer not quite able to close the gap, but it means they are practically level going into that season finale, the endurance race at Zandvoort, and that is going to be a spectacle to be seen, to be believed. And it'll be Daniel Sedgey for Olympus Esports Titan finishing at P4 there, 19 seconds adrift to the top 3, and the Olympus Esports Titan driver in a lonely but comfortable 4th place finish. Ryan Walker being made to work extremely hard, and the satellite racing driver taking his first, I believe it's his first top 5 overall of the season, and in the gold class there for the 164, and he'll be absolutely happy with that. And then as we can see, Carl Felvers for Olympus Esports Vulcan, and will P6 there ahead of Connor Craven. Now I do see there in the Twitch chat that there is a mention of 6 penalty points, or 6 points being deducted from David Biggerdike for an incident at the Nürburgring, which were not visible on the standing sheet going into today, ladies and gentlemen. I think that penalty might be under a little bit of discussion at the moment, or subject to a further review. But if that is correct, and there are 6 penalty points being applied to David Biggerdike going into this round, and well, those points will need to go into the stand to be updated, then it will mean that with this win in this second race of the day, Connor Craven will have in fact taken the Silver Championship crown with 3 points his advantage. Oh, in fact, I believe it would be 4 points his advantage over David Biggerdike, and therefore I am going to, at this point, zip my mouth shut with regards to who is your champion of the silver class, and wait until we do get to our season finale, for the simple reason I think right now it's all hanging around whether there is 6 penalty points on what is David Biggerdike, as we've just received there in the Twitch chat. And well, as our drivers all get themselves set for potential post-round interviews, let's continue talking on through. And with the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver with that win in the silver class, Daniel Weston at P8 there for DCW Racing, and we're at 2nd place in, and he'll be, I think, a little bit fuming at the fact that in the end his lead in the silver class was cut short of that 3 wide between himself, Matt Strand, and what was Daniel Sedgey, and enabling Connor Craven to sweep on through, and after that Weston could not quite recover the victory. But still a P2 to him, ahead of Sean Dowie, P9 overall, but 3rd place on the silver podium there, and the 8-set Racing Sign driver will be ecstatic to return to the podium. It's been a long time since we've seen Sean Dowie on the silver podium, but finally making it happen in Season 10. The last time he managed to pick up a podium, I believe, was in Season 8 of the Porsche Cup, hosted by UKSimRacing, my memory serves me correctly, back when he was racing under the Clicks Racing banner. And then we see David Biggerdike P10 there, P4 in the silver class, the privateer 9. He gave it all he could today, and after that win in what was the heat race, unfortunate to be involved in that early instant in what was this feature race, and therefore P10 was the best he could achieve with a damaged car. David Vanderwells P11, best rest for Olympus Esports Titan, ahead of Joel Douton, P12 there for the wrong stuff. Then Alistair Hatcher, P13 for 8-set Racing, your last lead lap finisher. And we did have 3 drivers finish a lap down, including Matt Strand for Race Lab Esports, and then the Halliday brothers for Owen ahead of pole for the null pointers, with the number 22 driver getting the advantage on his brother in at the 29. We also had 2 retirees who will be classified as non-finishers, as they did not complete over half the race distance, and they will be 8-set Racing Science, Alistair Pollard, and also Emil Koopmans, who retired after 2 laps of race, and after misfortune in the opening 2 laps broke the car. Indeed, it was unrepairable beyond that point. But what a pair of races here today, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the Mugello circuit absolutely delivering all the way through. And, well, with that in mind, of course, the racing may have completed here today at Mugello, but one thing that hasn't completed so far is this broadcast. And, well, firstly, we would like to remind you that if you haven't thought about who your driver of the day is, and you're yet to cast your vote, well, voting for your driver of the day is open. We've put the Google form link in the Twitch and YouTube chats once again. But we'd also like to remind you that if you have enjoyed the racing action this season so far and enjoyed it today, well, if you're not subscribed to our respective media platforms on YouTube or Twitch, then do feel free to subscribe to do so today, so that way you can stay up to date with all of the latest broadcasts here at UKSimRacing, whether it be the Porsche Cup on Thursdays, alternatively the GT3 League on Sundays. But on top of that as well, if you'd like to support UKSimRacing further than subscribing to our media platform channels, you know there is a quick way to do so via our affiliates. And in the fact that UKSimRacing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies that do include Swelliometer Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere, and Demon Tweaks. And if you do head to our website, and that is uksimracing.co.uk today, that website appearing on screen for you now, you'll notice in the top right corner there is a link to our official Discord. And well, if you do join our official Discord, it serves 2 purposes. Firstly, if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our series or one-off events, it's a mandatory requirement for you to be part of the UKSimRacing Discord, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest information regarding your chosen event or series, and on top of that you can attend the pre-race night driver briefings. But perhaps more relevant to today is the fact that some of our affiliates provide discount codes which are only available on the official UKSimRacing Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, it does mean you're in pole position to receive a discount, and it means you save a little bit of money, so it's a win for you. But also here, let's be transparent at UKSimRacing, we do receive a kickback from your purchase using the affiliate discount code, and we are a non-profit organisation, and that means that every penny and pound we make from affiliate purchases will be invested back into the community to fund future series, including future renditions of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, the GT3 League, and the multi-class league that's coming up in the near future, and we've also got plenty more planned for 2024, including potentially the return of the GT4 series. We've also got the ongoing MX-5 Endurance series, and even more potentially on the cards. And well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UK sim racing, but on top of that as well, a little breather can go a long way in preparing us for our post-round interviews with our drivers. And we'll be back in approximately 10 to 12 minutes time to kick those off. So with that, we'll be back shortly and see you very soon. Without further ado then, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our post-round interviews. And today we're going to be hearing from 2 drivers of the gold class and 2 drivers in the silver class. Quite a bit of symmetry there. And we're going to be hearing initially from what is our blackout OPR driver, Corey Lazarus in the gold class, before coming to our 2 silver stars and the title battlers of Connor Craven and David Biggerdike. No updates at the moment, I should point out, with regards to the championship situation. I do believe we may get an update going into our season finale, but I'll keep you posted if we do hear anything. And then Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing in the gold class will complete what will be our 4 interviews and see us out. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now in the interview is none other than Corey Lazarus. Good morning to you, Corey, and what a morning to start off your day. Brilliant batting action in both races, and in the end, a win in the feature race, but having to work all the way through in keeping Patrik Thomsen at bay.
Morning, Paul. Yeah, it was a bit of an up and down morning, to be fair. Slightly disappointed with quali. Put in quite a few laps in practice. It matched and bettered Patrick's quali time numerous times this week. And I don't know what happened this morning. I had a half an hour extra sleep in. Just wasn't very sharp when I woke up. Had a coffee and was just off the boil. That was the result in quali.
Well, goodness me, well, I can understand your frustration and the fact, as you say, if you're able to set times in practice which would have matched what was Patrik Thomsen's pole time or perhaps even surpassed it, and for them not to appear, I mean, it sounds as though perhaps that extra little bit of sleep perhaps did not quite enable you to settle down the way you wanted to. But just with regards to this Mugello circuit and qualifying, of course, it's one of those circuits where, to many, it's all about rhyme and rhythm. If you don't find that rhythm from the outset, it can very quickly put you off your game.
Yeah, very, very true. It's a tyre eater as well, this one. It's a track that demands patience on throttle. And also your brake control, for sure. It eats through the tyres quite quickly if you're not careful.
And, well, maybe eating through the tyres, but we know you're a bit of a tyre whisperer, and at the same time, a P5 in qualifying. Translating into our first race of the day, the heat race, we got to see you to enjoy some battling out there, but not quite making any further progress up the field and finishing P5 in the end. How was the heat race?
It was frustrating because I was still simmering from a terrible quali. And then on lap 1 there, had that slight incident with Dan Sedgley, which is really unfortunate. Sort of from my cockpit view, as we came out of the right-hander, I am trending to the right-hand side of the track, and I got the clear call from the spotter. Then all of a sudden copped a whack on the back, and that obviously unsettled both our cars. Really unfortunate for Dan there to crash out like he did there. And then yeah, it was, the frustration just sort of built, and then chasing Kyle, got over anxious a little bit and got into the back of him and went off into the track, and that was the turning point of my race anyway. It sort of settled me down after I went through the gravels. Like, come on, get it together and try and put some laps on.
And just on that batting around here, we saw in both races, it looked tough enough just to be able to get close to the car in front unless you're on that start-finish straight. It looks as though the dirty air through these sweeping corners, particularly the high speed at back end of the circuit, really means that you've got to be on your A game even to close the 10th on your rivals.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. There are certain corners where you can pass. Just the nature of the corners, you can sort of trail brake a little bit longer around them and get under guys if they permit that. But yeah, it is tough to follow. But the straights obviously help with the draft.
Well, whilst it may have been tough, and like they say, when the tough gets going, when things get going tough, will the tough get going? And you're one of the tough drivers out there in terms of you never give in. And from a frustrated qualifying session and a difficult P5 in the heat race, you turn things around in the feature race. I mean, starting at what was P6 on the grid, you very quickly found your way into the lead of the race, and then in a brilliant battle with Patrik Thomsen.
Yeah, that was really good. I have to thank Patrick there. There was quite a few laps he could have probably dive bombed me and got past. I'm certainly not at that level to be able to drive away from the likes of Patrick and Philip. So um, it really was just about tyre management the entire race. And then I was preparing for a last lap attack from Patrick, but sort of looked like he got some dirty air coming onto the straight. That was the end of it. But yeah, I certainly wasn't pushing overly hard when Patrick was behind me. Just knowing, how bad these tyres can get if you do slide too many times or have too many off tracks. So it was a patience game.
In that patience proving strong all the way through. And in terms of the left-hand side tyres, what this circuit being a clockwise circuit with a lot of high load corners, I mean, even for yourself, those tyres must have felt quite used by the end of the 30 minutes.
Yeah, they certainly did. It was tough when you were trying to trail brake into some of the, like the left-hander into the final straight. The tyres were already quite warm from the previous left-handers, so the left side, yeah, took a beating, absolutely.
Well, still, whilst the tyres may have taken a beating, one thing that has taken a lot of effort from many to try and beat is your hold on P3 in the Gold Class Championship. And with the results today, whilst it will be mathematically possible provisionally still for Dan, as in Dan Seji, to try and take you on in the season finale, it's looking as though more and more that P3 is becoming yours. How are you feeling going into the finale?
I'm happy with the P3 because there's a deficit there between myself and Philip and Patrick. It's very clear that those guys they have the upper hand over me. And I'm just trying to learn the car and get faster um, and improve season upon season. And I've never podiumed in UKSR before for a championship, so yeah, I'm happy for a P3. And Zandvoort is a track I have not done a single race lap on. I mean, I've done some practice, but it'll be tough, no doubt. I know the other boys have done quite a few races around there, so I'm not expecting a whole lot, but I'll definitely put in the practice during the week to try and be competitive.
Oh, well, whilst you may not be expected too much, at the same time, we always look forward to seeing you out there, giving it your all, and the fact we've seen you take to the top step of the podium once again. It's been some time since we've seen that. It always brings a joy to many a spectator, myself included. But Corey, with regards to the Zandvoort circuit as well, I mean, a circuit now that's got more cambered corners than many with its revamp. Is it a circuit that you do enjoy?
The practice laps, yes, it looks like it'd be quite fun when you can nail a lap. I'm just so behind the eight ball when it comes to pace around there. There will be a fair bit of practice and probably chasing Zach Campbell's VRS Ghost around to try and get up to speed. But yeah, it is. It looks like a really fun track, and it does look like there's some good passing opportunities as well.
Well, we look forward to you taking your car out there for the final time in the season in a week's time and seeing what you can deliver in the Netherlands. But just before we do let you go, Corey, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast today?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks UKSR for putting it on. Yourself, Paul, for, no doubt another great broadcast. Um, I've got a few sponsors over here: Astute Finance at East Brisbane, Fisher Door Lawyers at East Brisbane, Distraction Sim Gear, Shunts Bakery, Shunts and Palmerston Bakery, and I'd like to thank the guys from Blackout OPR that constantly getting behind us and giving us all the support.
Well, Corey, in a similar vein, we need to give you a big thank you for joining us for a post-race interview today, and well, absolutely great to hear from you as always. Whilst it may not have been the happiest moment in qualifying, nor in perhaps the first race today, at the same time as well, well done your results in those, and a big congratulations on the win in the feature race. We look forward to seeing you at Zandvoort, but until then, happy practicing, and we'll have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Paul. Same with you, mate. See you soon.
So hearing it there from none other than Corey Lazarus, and well, you could hear the frustration in his voice with regards to that qualifying session. The fact not only had the times to put himself at least on the front row, if not beat Patrik Thomsen, but in the end qualifying the best part of multiple attempts down the order, and in fact P5 and being 1.1 seconds off that 49.664, and just not able to quite understand where the pace went. And indeed, it could be the fact that he didn't quite wake up in the normal way, or perhaps just on the day not quite able to repeat what been practicing time and time again. But either way, the thing about our 404 driver is the fact that when it goes wrong, he doesn't give up. And in the heat race, as he mentioned there, really carrying on from the frustration of qualifying, not really able to make too much progress. There was that misfortunate incident between himself and Daniel Sergi, but carried on after that and brought the car home in that P5 finish. And then going into our second race today, well, it was what was a P6 start, but wasted no time, as we do see here in the replay footage, making his way into that lead battle, and in the end an error from Patrik Thomsen at midway through the race, seeing Corey retake the lead. And despite multiple attempts from Patrik to retake it, in the end it was the challenger who faltered versus what was the leader from Blackout OPR, and he would stay on to take that victory. And well, to put you in the frame of mind, ladies and gentlemen, those victories are very rare this season in the gold class, in the fact that we have only seen what has been one win fall to somebody that's not named Philip Hammer or Patrik Thomsen. That has been Tim Darracott. Indeed, it is the sole class win for Corey Lazarus this season, and we've seen him in every season he's competed in pick up at least one class win, and he's done it again here today, and absolutely brilliant to see. And we look forward to seeing whether he can replicate it in our season finale at Circuit Zandvoort in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our second interview, and it's going to be none other than Connor Craven who gets ready for interview, and we're going to be hearing the thoughts of our driver, who one of the major contenders, of course, in what is the Silver Class Championship. And we'll get to hear his perspective on what has been a challenging day, but also that spectre or that cloud hanging over. Could the championship fall into his hands? Could it not? As he joins me now, a good evening to you, Connor. And putting firstly the championship aside, let's forget about that. We'll talk it a bit later. Firstly, what a challenging day at Mugello for yourself. A brilliant qualifying session, a heartbreaking heat race, and in a recovery drive to take victory in the feature race. I mean, it's almost as if you could write a novel out of it with 3 chapters.
Yeah, it seems like every heat and sprint race just seems to be a big soap for me. I seem to really settle in the endurance races and then give myself that bit of a buffer and then ruin it all in the heat races. So I'm glad I managed to do a bit of damage recovery on that one. But yeah, I really thought I blew everything in that first race.
Indeed, and as we wind things back to qualifying firstly, a P10 overall, a P2 in class, albeit a gap of what was the best part of 8 tenths to the pole lap set by David Bigelite. How was qualifying for you out there?
It's the same story as last week. I did put in a pole time on the third lap, only just, I think it was like less than a tenth, but I had a slight off track again. I really need to work on qualifying consistency, but yeah, it was a nice confidence boost that the pace was there, but it's always a bit disheartening seeing your rival ahead of you on that grid, because you've certainly ran the track like Mugello. As we've all just found out, it's very hard to overtake, so I was a bit disheartened, but again, I knew I had the pace from that, so it was good.
Well, whilst it may not have been a perfect qualifying session, like you say, and the repeat of what happened only a week ago at the Nürburgring, then flipping things around into the race, and well, in the early stages, it looked like a reasonable start, and then suddenly you find yourself right at the back of the order.
Yeah, I think with Mugello being quite a new track, a lot of drivers don't have that time on it, so everyone was still experiencing different lines, and everyone had a different driving style. I caught Ryan Walker into that last corner and didn't expect him to take off so much speed, so I had a quick stab at the brakes to stop me going to the back of him. At the time I thought I hit him, but looking back on the replay, I just stabbed the brakes and lost the back end. Took myself out of the race from panicking, but yeah, it was just a case of every driver drove differently, and you had to adapt to get around everyone, and it made it a big challenge.
Well, a frustrating moment there, and like you say, everyone getting used to the circuit, those differences in lines, and everyone taking slightly different approaches, and the risk of being caught off guard. But then coming on to making the recovery drive and fighting your way all the way back up to that eventual P14 finish overall P5 in class. Just take us through from your perspective that challenge of trying to make overtakes happen. You've got the dirty air to get through, so many high load, medium and high speed corners, and even then when you do battle side by side, the battles don't end until about 2-3 corners later.
Yeah, I've not been a fan of the racing on this circuit. The hot lap in it is fantastic. I've really liked it, but then you come into the races and there's so many quick direction changes that you put yourself in a good position for the first corner, and then you're out of position for the next corner. So it's very difficult to keep yourself in a good position. Again, going back to how everyone drives differently, you have a bit of hesitancy as well. So coming down the hill, seemed to have a lot of speed down there compared to other drivers, but I then noticed that other drivers were, whilst they were slower in and cutting out, that would then mean they cut across my front bumper, and it meant I couldn't make a move. So every corner was just, yeah, I wasn't a fan of the overtaking on that circuit.
That's absolutely fair. And well, then going into our second race of the day with that P14 overall finish, you'd start there for what was the feature race. But unlike the heat, you managed to find some progress very quickly, with drivers falling by the wayside, being involved in incidents and mistakes, and soon you'd be chasing after what would be Danny Weston for the silver class win. Just take us through the early stage of the race where you made those places quickly. I get the feeling there's one thing in your mind, which is I've got to go hunting after David as soon as possible.
Yeah, I was a bit disheartened because I knew I had the likes of 88 Tech in front of me and Danny Weston between myself and Bigger Dyke, and I know that they're very fast drivers, so I knew I had a challenge. But fortunately, I had probably the best start I've had all season, other than VIR. That put me in a good position into turn one, where I could sort of get myself in the middle of it and try and pinch some positions back. And I don't know what happened to David, but coming into turn two, I found myself on his back bumper, so I don't know whether he had a bad start or he got caught up in something, but at that point the race was blown wide open.
And as the race continued to rage on, we then did see the incident which collected David and sent him all the way down the order. But for yourself, meanwhile, it was all about still chasing the class leader, Danny Weston. And it looked as though in a bit of chaos into turn one, involving what was your teammate Daniel Sedji, also Matt Strand and Danny Weston, you were able to sneak your way through and from there never let go.
Yeah, I certainly had the pace to keep with Danny, I think. Again, I know I keep saying it, but with it being so difficult to overtake on the circuit, I've stuck behind Matt Strand for a very long time. Again, I think I had the pace over him, but just couldn't get that move done. So it was certainly a challenge. Yeah, I suppose you've just got to be there to capitalise on those errors, and when that happened onto turn one with Danny and Mats and Dan, you've got to be in it to win it. And I managed to keep enough of a gap that I could sort of just hold on from that point. But the tyres were struggling at that point. I was pushing really hard to get past Mats. That I think if I had have got past Mats, then it would have been a case of probably just burning the tyres out and not catching Danny. So who knows how it could have gone.
Well, indeed, there's always 101 what-if scenarios to each and every race, but we have to go over the facts as they stand. And, well, from there, of course, coming home the victor in our second race, I have to ask, what was your initial reaction? Because, of course, championship on what is high stakes at this point, taking a win after a difficult first race. How exactly did you react to crossing the line, seeing the checker flag?
Probably the calmest I've been all season, because at this point I wasn't trying to celebrate the race win. I wanted to celebrate the championship. So whilst I was happy with P1, I knew that I'd really put myself on the back foot in the heat race. So it's kind of, yeah, I tried to enjoy the P1, but that championship was just on my mind, and I think it's going to be until we finally get confirmation.
Well, indeed, and on that, of course, and for our viewers, just to clarify, with regards to the 6-point penalty that's potentially hanging over David Biggerdike, with regards to an incident that did occur at the Nürburgring last week, which many of you may be aware of in the early stage of the race. I mean, for your perspective, Connor, whether it falls to you as you are the Season 10 Silver Champion or Turty, the runner-up, your thoughts on the season and what has been a great season-long rivalry with David, albeit perhaps you two haven't shared as much time battling each other directly on circuit, but it really definitely has been one of those seasons where it's been back and forth between the two of you.
Yeah, we've tried to keep it entertaining. I've
You've
said a couple of
tried, come
races.
on.
Okay. Yeah, well, I came into this with the hopes of just being in the grid, trying to get involved in a couple of fights here and there. Like I said, VIR was my first ever time in a Porsche Cup, so I just took a dive to take Thomas Cope's sort of empty spot for the team, albeit not on his pace or talent. But so yeah, if I do come runner-up, whilst I would have dreamt of that at the beginning of the season, I'd kind of be disappointed with it now. So it's a bit 50-50 really. But yeah, I'm happy with how the season's gone. The grid's full of great drivers, and it's been a challenge all season. I haven't been able to relax for sure.
Oh, indeed. Well, it's definitely been a challenging season, but at the same time, it's one where we've seen you grow into a car that you've been unfamiliar with, and it's been absolutely brilliant to see from the start all the way through to the conclusion of your journey here today. And of course, we won't see you on the grid at Circuit Zandvoort in a week's time, but given the fact that we are expecting there to be a Season 11 of the Porsche Cup, can we expect you back on the grid fighting once again?
I think so. Who knows where it goes? I kind of want to get involved in a lot of different cars and become a bit of a multi-talented driver, but we'll see. When the call comes, I normally can't resist, so I'm sure I'll be back.
Well, we would definitely love to see you back, and I'm sure many tuning in would as well. But Connor, whether you return to the grid in Porsche Cup or do push on to pastures new, we wish you all the best in your next adventure, no doubt about it. But just before we do let you go and look towards that adventure, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, as always, I'm going to mix it up this week. I normally start by thanking UKSR, but for how the season's gone, I've really got to give my biggest thanks to the team. David and Dan have been with me all season, up late nights. I mean, they've really put some time in. We've really worked on the setups of the cars, and it's made it possible running in a team. I can't say that I would have had the same sort of outcome as a privateer. So a massive thanks to the guys over at Olympus, and as always yourself and the team at UKSR for running such a good league, well, great league really. Yeah, it's been a ride.
Well, Connor, it's been a ride we've loved to share with you every step of the way over the course of this season. And whether you are crowned our Season 10 Silver Champion or you are Class Star runner-up, you should hold your head high either way, because it is definitely, I think many would agree with me, been fantastic to see you grow, to adapt to and enjoy the Porsche 992 Cup car. And, well, until we do get that confirmation, we won't quite wish you congratulations on your result in the championship. What we will do is say congratulations on what has been a challenging night, but you've overcome the challenges of that P5 in the heat race and that P1 in the feature race. And, well, we'll definitely see you out to the circuit in the near future. But until then, thank you for joining me in the interview room, and congratulations on your performances, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you, Paul. Have fun at Zandvoort. I'll see you later.
So hearing there from our silver driver, Connor Craven, in the 1-2-3 for Olympus Esports Vulcan. And understandably there, a little bit muted perhaps, or a little bit less over as enthusiastic as he would normally be, given the fact there is the big question mark of what is the Silver Class Championship, whether he has taken it or not hanging over his mind. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we point out that going into today, the standings we showed at the start, well, those standings showing that David Biggerdike was 3 points ahead, and not being cognizant of this 6 points penalty that is hanging over David for the instant at was Nürburgring, involving multiple drivers, including himself. And, well, if that instant is applied and those points are applied, it would go the way of Connor Craven by 4 points. Meanwhile, if it's not, it would go the way of David Biggerdike by 2 points based on the provision results from today. But as we did say in the interview, it's something that has to just be waited on now. And we're coming back to the present and the facts that they do stand. We got to see what was another resilient display today from the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver, with a qualifying session which could have seen him on pole, albeit not without a lap invalidated, and when the attaining P2 in class, but still 90 at the pace to go hunting after David. And, well, in the heat race, it wasn't to be. Well, that early instant cost him dear after going into the final corner on the open lap and chasing after Ryan Walker. But in return, then having to make the recovery drive, but demonstrating just how challenging overtaking and chasing another driver is here at the Italian circuit. But in the feature race, keeping his consistency, keeping his cool, and seizing on his opportunities to take the class win. And it may be that class win that does enough to see him become silver champion for season 10. When he does return for season 11 and moves on to another discipline of machine, I can assure you one thing, Conor Craven will rise to the challenge each and every time, and it's something we look forward to seeing him do each and every time as well. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to our third interview, and well, you've heard from one silver driver on one side of the story, and then you're going to be hearing it from our other silver driver on the other side of the story when it comes to that silver championship battle, and it is going to be none other than David Bigelite, as he gets ready to join me in the interview room. And well, as he does so, well, we're going to hear his thoughts on what's been a mixed night, much like with Conor. But as he joins me now, good evening to you, David. And well, we just spoke to Conor, and I suspect it may be a similar story for yourself in the fact absolutely running right in qualifying to a pole position in the silver class, and in the heat race as well, a very controlled victory. But in the feature race, a lead that fell out your hands through circumstances completely out of your control. Is it mixed feelings right now for Mugello?
It is. It's a lot of people have been giving this track some stick in the Discord. I really enjoy it. I've it's a track I've never driven before. I did a couple of laps before the Nürburgring round, but since then it's one of them tracks where I just kind of naturally able to find a rhythm. So yeah, it's definitely see how kind of in control of the heat race I was. Again, I felt I'd done some longer runs and felt comfortable in the kind of feature race kind of setup as well. So yeah, it's one of them where racing's cruel, where something completely out of your control happens, but these things happen in racing, don't they?
Oh, 100% they do. But let's talk about the things that were in your control, starting with that absolutely stellar pole lap in the silver class. And for P8 overall as well, one of your highest qualifying performances of the season overall. I mean, 1.5 seconds off of the overall pole lap set by Patrik Thomsen. But how was qualifying for you out there?
Yeah, I just went with my usual approach. I had the iRacing Mugello setup for the whole thing. I just put extra fuel in it for the feature and took it out for the sprint and the qualifying. I used the iRacing setup like I always have all year, so all season. So no secrets with with the setup. But I just had enough fuel to do 3 laps, and it felt good. Lap 1 was smooth, so I didn't get any off track. So you get that banker in. Lap 2 I pushed, and then lap 3 I was going even quicker, and then I lost it in the last corner. So I felt comfortable through the whole of qualifying.
Well, just going faster and faster in qualifying, and well, then going into the race, and we saw a similar situation, a P7 at the close of the heat race and a victory in class. And I do have to ask, we have previously talked to you about the fact that you normally are intermingling it with the gold drivers, and I don't think it was an exception today in the heat race. I think the temptation was there to see if you could gain some more overall places, but also having to be risk adverse to the fact you've got a silver championship to win.
Yeah, exactly. It's I was just chatting with Ryan Walker in the waiting room about the kind of challenge of battling another class, because you don't want to defend or attack too hard, because in reality it doesn't mean anything. Obviously the overall position is nice, but in the terms of a championship it means nothing. But you also don't want to be losing pace if you find yourself at a point in the race where you're on par or quicker than a couple of the gold drivers maybe. So it adds a challenging kind of element to the race.
Oh, indeed. And with those elements all entwined, we did see in the early stage of the race a couple of moments where there were incidents around you and whatnot, but you managed to navigate those safely. And come the end of the 12 minutes, a well-deserved victory in the heat race. But I suspect now you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've just got one more race to go, and it's 30 minutes. All I've got to do is bring it home.
Yeah, and for every other lap apart from the one where I had an incident, I was quick. I was on pace. I was catching back up from the back. I know it's been said that it's tricky to overtake here, but I didn't find that. I knew where I was quicker and where I could get a better exit, which would set me up for the next corner. So I was able to work my way back, and I knew what I needed to aim for, because I know there's been a lot of talk of the championship and potential penalty points. I can confirm that I have got a 6-point penalty from the incident at the Nürburgring. So I knew coming into today I needed to win both, and after what had happened in the sprint, I knew I needed to finish at least one position behind Connor to win the championship, which unfortunately I was unable to do. So I know it's not confirmed on the table yet, but I've had a good chat with the head steward today about a penalty, and I can confirm, yeah, I did get a penalty.
Well, David, I appreciate you confirming it as part of your interview. And firstly, allow me to say that whilst it does mean the Silver Championship will go the way of Connor Craven, still, the recovery driver you put in and to try and fight it all the way to end, to take P2, and it really being a penalty, that was the difference between the two of you. I mean, we never want to see it end on penalties, and we're not talking about football here, but more motorsport. But either way, still, it's a reflection of the calibre of the racing you've brought to the grid this season. And well, I have to say, how do you feel now looking back on all the racing this season to finish P2 and so close to the ultimate goal?
It's one of them where, firstly, obviously, congratulations to Connor. It's not an easy thing to put a championship kind of run together, and it's been me and him kind of battling throughout. I came into this just to have a bit of fun, and obviously I'm a privateer, so I'm on my own. No coaching available to me or anything like that, and I've been up against the kind of Olympus team at times, which has been quite a fun experience as well, because I had a great battle with David in Olympus today on the penultimate lap. I think it was. We were next to each other for pretty much most of the lap, so it's fun to be able to do that. And I feel like, despite all of that, the pace that I've shown is something I can be proud of. I feel like I was only outpaced by Connor at Spa, where I was generally off the pace. But other than that, it's been very close. And to do that when it's just me, me sat here is something I can be quite proud of.
Oh, 100%. I'd agree with you on that entirely, in the fact, as a privateer. Indeed, I'm slightly getting already Matt Neal vibes from the touring car era in terms of what you brought to the table with regards to being that lone individual and putting in the effort week in, week out, and, well, contesting the championship all the way through from the very start. And, well, I do have to ask the question, of course, you won't be on the grid at 4 is our season finale at Circuit Zandvoort, but can we expect you back on the grid to try and contest the Silver Crown again in season 11?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna come back. It's like, so I joined to give me something to focus on, and I've been working on a different mentality in racing, where previously I've maybe been a bit of a hothead. So trying to stay calm and work on analyze kind of each situation in the race and move through that. I have to admit that was quite tested today, because I think I got the message from the stewards at about 1:30 this afternoon that I'd received a penalty that I feel is quite harsh, and I disagree with. But I've had a good chat with Simon about it, and I understand the application of the rules, but Nürburgring is such a difficult place to avoid an incident happening in front of you, and especially when you've got cars all around you. So it was it's tricky for that, but the fact that I've had such good pace and I've enjoyed my racing means I'll definitely be back next year or next season. Well, as long as the tracks are good, anyway. You don't want to race on rubbish tracks, do you? But I think they are, from the look of the first look. I think they're following a lot of the Porsche Super Cup track, so it'd be quite fun to be able to practice, have the race on Thursday, and then watch the Super Cup race on the Sunday around the same track.
Oh, indeed, I agree with you there. A good mix of tracks always makes for a great competitive environment from season to season. And, well, fingers crossed those circuits do line up exactly as we'd like them to. But, David, of course, just before I do let you go this evening, is there anybody you'd like to give a thank you or a shout out to live on the broadcast tonight?
Like I said previously, just congratulations to Connor on the championship. I know it's not 100% confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it is from my end. So congratulations to that. Thank you for the obviously UK Sim Racing team for putting it on. And although I maybe disagree with the decision, I know the stewards don't have it easy, and they're volunteers at the end of the day. So thank you to them as well.
Well, David, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the grid throughout Season 10, no doubt about it. And whilst the championship may not have come your way provisionally, still at the same time, being a runner-up is no mean feat, and a huge well done on being our runner-up silver driver for this season. And well, for also an absolutely brilliant pole lap and win in the heat race to wrap up what has been a fantastic Season 10 for yourself. We look forward to more for yourself in Season 11, but until then, we wish you all the best as always, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
So hearing there from David Bigelite, and understandable in the fact that it has been a trying evening going into what is at Mugello, and even all the way through Mugello. As he mentioned, they're finding out earlier on this afternoon with regards to what was the penalty levied against him, and having the confirmation from the head steward, the stewarding team. We asked that penalty standing from the Nürburgring, and will that be the provisional confirmation that Connor Craven is your silver champion for Olympus Esports Vulcan? And well, now for the privateer of David Bigelite, it's one of those moments whereby he was this close, and whilst you can't see my fingers currently on screen, you can imagine I'm just showing a small gap between my finger and thumb, this close and taking the title as a privateer, and indeed just turn up each week, putting the practice in and looking to get the job done. And well, if you can get this close in this season, you can imagine in Season 11 the number 23 is likely to fly very high, and well, could that be the season where David finally takes that crown? And again, today being a reflection on how far he's come, in the fact of qualifying at pole lap that definitely stood tall amongst the pack, and in the heat race consistency and control all the way through, and in the feature race when it all went wrong didn't throw his teddy out the pram, as some would say the saying is, just kept his head down, absolutely went on the charge and demonstrated how you can overtake at Mugello, and enjoying some brilliant battling, as we do see the closing battle between himself and David van der Waals there on screen currently. But in the end, it wasn't enough for him to be able to overhaul what was the deficit going into tonight, and therefore for David Bigelite, a P2 in the championship, but a well-earned one at that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that now brings us to our final interviewee, and we're going to be hearing from what is Ryan Walker, your gold class driver, who, as I've double checked my notes, secured his first top 5 of the season with what was the P5 overall in the final race of today. And as he gets ready to join me in at the interview room, we'll get to hear the story on what has been an absolutely challenging day for the satellite racing driver, in the fact that he's had to battle his way on through the field in both races and enjoy the fighting all the way. Well, here he is with me now. Good evening to you, Ryan, and what a testing day for yourself. But in the end, you set yourself one target, if I remember correctly, in an interview earlier on the season, which was to achieve an overall, or at least a gold top 5 by the end of the season. And in the feature race, you finally achieved it with a P5 that looked to be a P4 for so long, but in the end, a P5 at the close. I mean, you didn't have an easy job here at Mugello, but still, target and mission accomplished.
Yeah, happy to do that. And yeah, first of all, I really enjoyed the racing around Mugello. It's my first time racing around the track, and it struggled for pace slightly, but overall enjoyed it. And I think, looking forward to doing more cup races around here in the future.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic to hear. And whilst Mugello has perhaps been a little bit of a Marmite circuit, some have loved it and others have not liked it, the fact that you've absolutely enjoyed it is so great to see. And well, let's talk a little bit about qualifying. In the end, taking P9 in qualifying, 2 seconds off the overall pole time set by Patrik Thomsen. It looked as though in the end qualifying perhaps was one of those sessions whereby the pace wasn't quite there initially and you were still finding more pace as the laps went on.
Yeah, I've pretty much been practicing around Mugello most of this week. It's I was really struggling around here a little bit, and just basically came in tonight with the mindset, or the aim, if you like, just to finish both races and just not really worry about where I finish, just pick up points and in both races and just see where we end up.
I think that's a sensible approach to take in terms of going into each of the races and starting off with the heat race. Whilst many were losing their cool and being involved in incidents, for yourself it looked as though it was a classic Ryan Walker drive of just simply staying out of trouble, enjoying some battling out there and just gradually making up the places. And a P6 overall and in class come the checker flag of the heat race, one of the top 5, but still a very solid race.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the race one. I mean, basically, I had a decent start and then basically just told myself just to settle into it. And basically, I saw the pack in front of me start to pull away slowly, so I thought just to try and get to the finish. And then I saw some of the front runners having issues. I think, excuse me, I think I saw, I can't remember who it was, but I know that Corey had issues halfway through race one. So. But I knew he would catch up to me quickly because my pace was just not where I wanted it to be. But this is one of those things. So as soon as Corey caught up to me towards the end of race one, I just decided to not make a big fight of it and just let him go. But as soon as he got a run, so I let him by and I managed to get a good result in the end and had a great race with David Bigadite, I think it was. So yeah, really enjoyed that. And anytime I got a run on him, I just I didn't want to do anything too silly because I knew that he was in a excuse me, championship battle with Clay Connor, so that I kept that in mind and basically got a run on David and into turn one. They managed to make the move stick, so yeah, two top 5 and a top 6 result. I'm more than happy with that tonight.
Oh, absolutely great to hear that. And we're speaking about that feature race, 30 minutes, tyre wear being a pivotal part here at the Mugello circuit. Well, there have been so many high-load corners, those right-handers, particularly Arabiata 1 and 2, as we do see you making your way on through the pair of corners in the replay footage currently and keeping up one of our many Olympus Esports drivers at bay. I mean, for yourself out there, it looked as though in the early stages, the race was naturally coming to you and at one point running in P4. But towards the end of the race, Daniel Sedgwick trying to make his way through, then Cole Felbers. I have to ask, was it a case that the tyres were starting to bite back against you, or was the pace just naturally starting to slip off?
In the first half of the feature race, my pace was really good, and then I think towards the end, Daniel Sedgley caught up to me, so I knew that he would catch up to me, and I just decided not to make a fight of it. If he got a run, I would just let him go, and then yeah, for some reason my front tires just dropped off completely, so I was on the exit slow speed corners, the getting on the power, I was struggling massively, so I knew that a corner as well was going to catch up to me at some point, and I knew that he was going to get a run on me in some places, but I just basically told myself just to place my car in the right places if he got a run on me. But yeah, tyre wear, I think from what I heard, some drivers were struggling with it. So yeah, it's one of those things. As soon as I felt the front tyre starting to fall off a cliff, I just thought I'd just try and get to the finish.
Well, you did exactly that and managed it all the way in. And we did see in the last couple of laps, Carl Felbers start to poke his nose into places that perhaps that most drivers wouldn't expect, including the run into the downhill chicane at turns 6 and 7. But every time he tried to stick his nose in, you were ready to close the door and make sure he couldn't make the move. It looked as though you were very keen to insist on holding that P5.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know what it was. I said to myself, just get to the finish, and then basically, yeah, as soon as I saw that him and the corner were trying to get by, I thought just try and place my car in the right places, but not to be overly aggressive on defenders. Just place my car in the right place and just keep it there. And I think one of them kept getting a run on me, and I can't remember what corner it was. One of the right-handers, they kept getting a great run, and I basically just slipped my car, basically stood my ground, and basically turned into the corner. And I thought, if I get spun, I get spun. But yeah, it was a clean battle, clean racing, and really enjoyed it.
Oh, indeed it was. Fantastic batting between yourself and Kyle all the way through to the finish, and also those earlier battles we saw with other members of the Gold class. But then coming to the final corner and seeing that final checker flag here at Mugello, I mean, what was your action to know that you finally achieved a top 5, something you chased all season long?
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, my pace wasn't really good. I was just struggling massively because but I've not raced around Mugello. Tonight was my first time, but yeah, top five. Yeah, really happy with that, and yeah, it's something that I've been looking for yeah, for most of the season. So yeah, hopefully at Zandvoort next week, with it being an endurance round, we can get another top five, or basically top five or top six. I would be happy with to round out the season.
Well, indeed, it'd be a fantastic way to wrap up the season. Of course, Circuit Zandvoort, a circuit which many like yourself are looking forward to. And in the Gold Class Championship, it's all to play for in the hunt for that 5th place spot. With Tim Darracott not on the grid today, David van der Waals having a challenging day, Emil Koopmans as well having mixed results. Cole Felder's not quite able to break his way past you. I mean, you're one of the prime contenders now to take P5 in the championship. How does that make you feel going into the season finale?
I don't feel any pressure, to be honest. It's just the way I look at it is it's just another race, and just whatever happens happens. If I lose out on a top five or top six in the championship, then I'm not too bothered. If just see how it goes, and just aim to finish and see where we end up. And Zandvoort's always been a good track for me, because I think it was last season or the season before I finished in the top six in the an endurance round. So hopefully we can do that again.
We definitely look forward to seeing you give it your all in order to achieve that target at Zandvoort. But Ryan, just before I do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to at live on the broadcast?
First off, yourself, Paul, for putting on the broadcast as always. I always look forward to watching them back, and then secondly, the team at Satellite Racing, our sponsors, Nemesis Lab, Maradness, and Ellis Engineering, and Dr. Dabber, and lastly the UKSR community, and Roxanne Marshall for running it and hosting the series as always. And yes, she does a good job as always. And yeah, I think from in my view anyway, she doesn't get enough credit.
Well, Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us in the interview this evening, and congratulations once again on your great set results in both races, especially your first top five of the season in the feature race. We look forward to seeing whether you can replicate it or perhaps even push higher at Circuit Zandvoort in our endurance race finale in a week's time. But until then, thank you for joining me in the interview. Congratulations once again, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Paul.
So hearing there from our satellite racing driver Ryan Walker, and absolutely happy, no doubt about it, with regards to that result in our second race today. But also talking about the fact that this Mugello circuit, enjoying it racing around here and having those battles, and with it, whilst qualifying it perhaps was a bit more of a learning experience and continuing to find that time, when he went into the race and keeping to his mantra, keeping it cool, calm and consistent, and we saw in both races Ryan make that progress. In the heat race, staying out of trouble meant he could gain 3 places overall and in class, and then hold on to that P6, but always wary, of course, of the drivers who are faster around him and perhaps in a slightly higher subclass in the gold class, the likes of Corey Lazarus, Patrik Thomsen, etc., are choosing who to fight and who not to fight, and that's exactly why Ryan is always a driver to watch out for, because of the fact he is playing the games. He's playing the numbers and knowing when he needs to battle, and that's what we saw in the feature race. When drivers started to come through, with Ryan starting a little bit further up the order, it was time for him to start thinking about letting the right drivers through and then battling those who he didn't need to battle, and we saw that as he chases Daniel Westner on the replay footage, and also eventually having what was Cole Felvers come up behind, a driver on similar pace, and now he could keep Cole behind him all the way to the end and not being perturbed by those little pokes, but knowing exactly where he needed to place the car. And well, that is why Ryan right now is one of the favourites to take P5 in the Gold Championship, and we look forward to seeing whether he can do that at Circuit Zandvoort and indeed potentially make it another top 5 finish, or perhaps even his first podium of the season. Goodness me, if we did see that, I think there'll be a number of you going absolutely wild to see the satellite racing car take its first ever podium in the UKSimRacing at Porsche Cup Gold Class. Well, there's a dream, and will we see that dream realised in a week's time? Well, we'll have to find out then. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings to a close our interviews for today. And well, as we do bring those interviews to a close, and well, we do have the wrong thing appear on screen for a brief moment, apologies for that. We'd just like to say a big thank you once again to what is Corey Lazarus, firstly, in the gold class for being the first of our interviews, our winner in the feature race, of course. Then we heard from the two silver stars, Connor Craven, your provisional silver champion, as confirmed in the interviews between Connor and David Bigadite. Speaking of whom, your runner-up there behind the Olympus Esports Vulcan driver was our privateer, our pole sitter and winner in the heat race, but not quite able to bring home the win in the feature race, unlike his rival Connor. And then from just hearing from Ryan Walker, a big thank you to the Satellite Racing driver, as well as he may not have taken any wins, he'll feel like a winner for taking that P5 in the feature race. And well done to all 4 of our drivers from today. And whilst we'll only see Corey and Ryan on the grid at Circuit Zandvoort, well, we do look forward to seeing them on the grid again in the future. And well, we wish them all the best their evenings. But now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is time for us to wrap up. And thank you very much for watching for today. And if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the UK Sim Racing community in terms of how you can be on the grid for the future seasons of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup or our other series and leagues and events, well, for all that and more, we do recommend you head to our website, and that is uksimracing.co.uk today. You saw that website earlier on screen in the broadcast, and it's the #1 source of information for all things UK Sim Racing and how you can also join the ever pleasant and present UK Sim Racing Discord community. But if you're not going to go to our website today, you can of course follow us on social media as an alternative, and our Twitter is the best place to do so. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_, and there you can stay up to all the latest announcements regarding our upcoming series, our upcoming broadcasts, and everything in between when it comes to UK Sim Racing achievements in what is the official UK Sim Racing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, who do include, of course, firstly, Swilly Amida Sim Racing Coaching, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swilly Amida Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing drone to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain the 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilly Amida has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilly being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching for the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment, aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. SimLab, the manufacturer of high-quality sim racing-related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. We also have Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level or discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, but do include, but are not limited to, one-click shopping, Amazon Prime, and Amazon Alexa. And lastly, our latest affiliate, Thomsen's Coaching. Are you in need of a bit of steer that is not quite over or under? Or are you struggling to find that extra 10th? Or are you looking to be braver on the brakes? If that sounds like you, then why not check out Thomsen's Coaching? Run by professional esports sim racer and Apex Race Academy driver Patrik Thomsen, Thomsen's Coaching aims to provide some of the finest coaching from one of the very best drivers in the industry. Are you worried about price? Fear not, for Thomsen's Coaching is quality coaching made affordable, meaning that no matter what your budget, there should be the right level of coaching available just for you. Interested? Then why not join the Thomsen's Coaching Discord today to get started? But with that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's no longer time for us to get started in Season 10 of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup. It's time for us to head to the conclusion, and next week, on the 30th of May 2024, save the date, because we'll be heading to Nevens for the highly cambered corners of Circuit Zandvoort for round 12 of 12. It will be our endurance race finale to bring the curtain down. And at the top of the bill will be the battle of the Gold Class Titans. In the one corner, it will be 4-time defending champion Philip Hammer looking to make it a 5th championship title and what will be 3 in a row in succession. Meanwhile, in the other corner, it will be the Apex Racing Academy driver Patrik Thomsen, whose results tonight have seen him level the playing field. A point stands between the two of them, if my mathematics is correct, provisionally, and it means it is all to play for there. Meanwhile, in the silver class, provisionally is Connor Craven, who has taken the title ahead of David Bigadite tonight, and therefore it will fall silent at the top of the standings, but there's still plenty to watch out for in the silver class as the fight is on between Joel Dutton, Alistair Pollock, Craig Schill, Sean Dobie, Paul Halliday, and also Glenn Humberstone as the outsider for what will be the silver third place spot. And which of those 6 drivers will take it? Well, the only way to find out is by tuning in on Thursday the 30th of May 2024 to see how the story all ends. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we have been UKSimRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX11 Walsh, also known as Brit the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.